Guys, welcome back to another content farm on the Exodia channel. Today, what we'll be doing has never been done before on this platform by anybody ever, right? This is only me. I'm the only person that's ever come up with this. And this is ranking every single Anime Vanguards update from release to 8.0 is what we're on right now. I'm pretty sure 8.0, yep. in a tier list. Oh my god, guys, tier list. Giga slop content inbound. This video is going to be I don't even want to see how long this video is going to be by the time I finish it, because I know this is going to be a giant yap sesh, because there's so much to talk about with the history of this game and how long it's come a very long way, we can say. Like, it's from humble beginnings to the game basically almost dying. Concurrent players was sitting at like what 5k CCU or something. I won't say which update. We'll have to stay in store for that. Try and see where that goes. To now where we're basically 100k CCU update just came out, and we're probably going to stay like that for a while because the game's gotten a lot better. The game's been through its ups and downs, and we're going to be ranking those ups and downs in a very simple way. S, the best updates. A, good updates. B, it's like 6 out of 10. C, it's like it was bad, but like I didn't hate it. And then D is like, guys, you already know which update's going in D. Let's just say that. But D is will be the worst one, of course. Yeah, right. So let's get right into it. Just a quick disclaimer. Obviously, some of this will be, this is my opinion. So feel free to disagree. Although I'm right, you're wrong. It is what it is. Sucks to suck. But if you guys do want to, obviously, if you think I'm a complete fucking idiot for thinking update 4 is like really good, then leave in the comments, say you're a fucking idiot. I think this update's better. Steel Ball Run clears. Steel Ball Run was the best update that's ever dropped. I definitely know that's going to be very popular sentiment. I know I'm very like, I'm a minority when it comes to that sort of thought. Like, Steel Ball Run is a shit update. I know people love that one. Everybody loves that one. And I've been playing this game since release, since day one, since the game became public. I've been playing it. I've only really stopped playing it around one time, which would have been, I want to say, during update 3.5, give or take, is where I sort of slowed down. And that's when the game was at its lowest. But we'll get into that later. Oh, and another thing, obviously I don't know patch notes off by heart. So some things I might forget. So if I do forget something that you think I should have, commented on, and I should have put in mind when ranking the thing, let me know. Maybe I forgot it. Maybe I just didn't mention it. Maybe I didn't think it was worth mentioning. But just in case, just leave it down below, and we can discuss about it. Don't forget to join the Discord. If you want more in-depth conversations about stuff that matters, like Anime Vanguards updates and how good and how bad they are. And let's begin. So to start off, obviously, we've got Anime Vanguards Update 0 release. Now, I've got really fond memories of release. Some fond memories. One of the greatest things that ever happened to me happened during a release, during sort of maybe update 0.5, give or take, sort of around there. And that was Alucard. So as we know, Alucard was the first banner unit, and still the only actual banner unit that they added. And he's quite good. He's still, to this day, a pretty decent support. DPS-wise, he's definitely fallen off. But 30% wound. So basically, every time he attacks an enemy, that enemy will not only be bleeding, because Alucard does bleed, but he will also apply an effect called Wound, which I think, to this day, only 2 characters in the game actually have. Him and Kisuke. I might be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure they're the only 2 that actually have that. So just making enemies take, 30% more damage just for free? It's pretty good. And he's still quite a solid option. Very cool. I've come a long way myself. I've got 2 of him now. So listen, bro. He's still, like, I love him. He's model. Dude, I will never, whenever somebody asks me, like, what is, like, one of your favorite, like, visual effects or sound effects, whatever, in Vanguards, Alucard, first AoE upgrade 5. That noise where he jump with the blue, like, full AoE, he's got the guns, he's shooting the guns. Oh, that noise, bro, I swear, like, the pants are getting taken off. That's all I'm gonna say, bro. Every time I see that, I just turn on VFX just to hear it whenever I'm using Alucard. So he's the GOAT. This guy's the GOAT, been GOAT since day one. He might have hated me for a very long time. 2.75 million gems it took me to get him, but it is what it is. We got him in the end, and I had fun using him. I still use him a fair bit. timeless unit, unless obviously they power keep him. But he's very, very dope, very dope. Um, Sung Jin Woo, Anime Vanguards was sort of marketed as sort of this was when Soul Leveling was probably like first really becoming popular, sort of like they were capitalizing on the hype. And Sung Jin Woo was basically the poster boy. You can legit see it in the actual in the icon. In the fuck, what are they called? The wallpaper, whatever. I don't know, whatever it is. The update picture. Anyway, Sung Jin Woo was really solid, top meta. If you had him Monarch, you basically you were doing well. You're doing well for yourself. Igris, the secret unit, he was basically the sort of quote unquote end game farm on release. People were just trying to go for him, and the way you got him was you got him from Legend Stage Act. I want to say 3. I want to say there's 3 Sung Jin Woo soul leveling Legend Stages. Maybe there's more. Whatever the last one is, that's where you get Igris, and I think he was a 1% chance. Right, 1%. That sounds right. And he was quite good, full AoE at the time. Great, awesome stuff. Igris and Sung Jin Woo actually, I can't remember if Sung Jin Woo got buffed or if Igris got buffed or if both of them got buffed from being ran together. So you'd basically always want to be running these two characters. Very, very good. Sung Jin Woo with his summons, Igris with his full AoE, good damage. Chayin, I don't know. She was alright. She had like a really cool AoE, to my recollection. It was like a Pac-Man AoE. Where it's like a cone. It's like an inverse cone. Really cool. She was pretty mid though. 5 placements. She wasn't really. If I do, I did use her a little bit for like leaderboard. I think if you had her ethereal, she was all right at the very start. Naruto. This guy was apparently the best unit in the game. If you guys remember, way back when people who played, there was a tier list by somebody. I don't remember who, but they basically said, "Listen, if it's Tuesday 3 p.m. and the car crosses the bridge at exactly 45 degrees, Naruto has the highest DPS." And apparently people were like, "Dude, he's dog shit." Is what I'm trying to say. He's dog shit unless this very, very, very specific requirement, very specific thing was actually met. Obviously I can't. This was so long ago, but I just remember it was really funny, and me and my mates we used to always laugh about it because it's so silly. The character's a fucking bum. He's a bum. He's always been a bum. He's never been good. Obito, the first burn unit we had, pretty strong, pretty solid. He was okay. For what he was definitely up there. Sasuke Storm, he had a stun, if I believe, insane for leaderboards. You'd have to manually just place him and do that every leaderboard. It was a very cool unit. Very simple. But that's what the game was. The game was in simple, in the very first stage, in the very first update, very first or release, I guess I should say. And he was alright. He wasn't horrible. He wasn't horrible. And now the GOAT of the game, even for a very long time, I will say Vegeta, Super Vegeta. Now, Super Vegeta, when he first dropped, was really, really bad. In fact, I think he was quite literally the worst mythic out of the 6 that I named, excluding the secrets. He was terrible, but he did get buffed. He got buffed. I don't remember when, but it did happen. So we'll say from release he was trash, but he did get buffed eventually, and he became really good. He became insane. 4 placements. He was basically meta for progressives. If you had Ethereal on him, like you wouldn't struggle doing anything. Macro, meta, everything. He was amazing. He was the best. And then the Battle Pass unit, Haruka Rin. Now, some people, I don't know if people actually even talk about this unit anymore because there are actually a bunch of buff units nowadays in the game. But she was the very first one, and she works pretty simple. You just place her down, wait a couple waves, and then she gives a percentage buff to all your units that are in her range. Pretty cool stuff. Nothing really to complain about. I don't know why they made a Battle Pass, and of course, since there's no trading in the game currently, she is actually still unobtainable. So when she becomes tradable, I don't know if she'll even be valued that much, apart from just being a cool unit. Just because I'm pretty sure there are a lot better buffs now. I'm pretty sure Subaru is just a better buff, but Subaru is also a pretty rare unit, and I'll go into that later. But Haruka Rin, she's quite cool, quite good. Still used a little bit here and there. But overall, I think just going off by the units and just how the game felt. I remember the game, like, it was fresh because before, after AA shut down, we had a lot of games that came out that just sort of wanted to, capitalize on AA shutting down and just trying to get as much, popularity as possible, get that free money, get all the players from AA to come to the game. And one of those games was obviously Anime Last Stand. And that game, I did play it up until the Valentine's update when that dropped on Utah, the first sort of like event character came out. And that game was shit. That game was complete and utter dog shit. nothing redeeming about it. The game felt shit. The maps were shit. The models were shit. Everything about it was shit. That's all I've got to say. It was terrible. It was a terrible game. And the fact that Anime Vanguards came out not too long after Anime Last Stand, obviously, it definitely took more inspiration from EA than ALS did, and they went crazy. For release, I think, oh man, A or B. I'm thinking it's speaking A to me. Call it nostalgia, call it whatever. The game's almost a year old, but it was a good time, and they've done well. Now, moving on. Update 0.5, funnily enough. Not too long after release, I think it only took them, 2 or 3 weeks to drop this 0.5 update. And, for what it was, the size of it wasn't too crazy, but it introduced a bunch of things that, would become core mechanics within the game. I guess let's start off with the units. So, obviously, they introduced, before the units, they introduced the new game mode, raids, a very big staple in AA especially, which they still do actually add raids nowadays in Anime Vanguard, so it's good that they did that. They also added the boss rush event, the Egress boss rush. This was the first time that this is also another game mode that they continuously, make new ones. They just look really good. They've done well, considering these have definitely stood the test of time. They did get changed though. The boss rush used to only be solo. I do remember that, and now you can actually play it with multiple people. You can play it with your friends, etc., which is definitely a lot better. It's definitely the preferred way to play boss rush, especially now with MVP. But we'll get onto that. So with the raid, it was pretty interesting. It was a little bit unique. They added a new. I'll start off with the first unit they added, which was Sakura from Naruto. She had a cleanse ability, which was the first time we ever saw something like that within the game. Her cleanse was mainly, they introduced that she was an epic, so she was really easy to get. Basically, everybody had her. But you basically needed her to beat, I think it was the last act of the new raid, because the enemy would actually, they would make your units fall asleep after a certain amount, rather damage dealt or whatever, and either you sell and replace them and then have them get slept again, or you cleanse them with Sakura and, beat the stage pretty easily. So she was definitely it sort of was the stepping stone to see what the game would turn into now, especially now people were complaining about stuff like Land of Gods and all these different modifiers that the enemies have, and you sort of need these support clutch characters to sort of help out your main DPSs actually keep on top of the game. So she was sort of the very first one that did that, and I think there is merit for what she's done. Rengoku, pretty good at the time. He was a burn unit. Nothing really too special apart from that. I don't remember. I think he was circle AoE, if I'm correct, on max upgrade. So he was okay. He was good. For the time, he was good. Tengen full AoE. Nothing really too special. 100% no. Was he 100% dodge? I don't remember. But I will tell you, Tengen did. He was good. For what he was, full AoE. I think he was a little bit better than Igris, but if you ran Igris with Sungjin or Sungjin with Igris was still better. So I think overall he sort of had a little place, but he was overshadowed. Akaza, mate, was his character ever used? I think there was a slight time where Akaza was thought to be meta for infinite runs, but I'm pretty sure it was just to kill the last boss of a double dungeon on a high wave. But I think other than that, terrible. Funnily enough, Takaroto was actually added this update too, so there you go. We got the two farm units that we obviously know of, which is great. But other than that, pretty solid update. Nothing too big, nothing too special, sort of prepping us for what's to come. I'll give it a B. It wasn't terrible. It introduced a bunch of stuff. Akaza, it's a shame that Akaza was bad, because I feel like this character is always bad in all of these games, and he never really gets a chance to shine, even though they could do something really cool with him. I'm pretty sure there was a recent game where Akaza was actually good. Maybe it was ASTDX. I'm not really sure. But one of the games, he was actually quite solid. So yeah, it was kind of a shame to see that he never really got a chance to shine. I don't remember what his effects look like. That's how long it's been. But there you go. Update 0.5, B tier. Update 1.0, the big 1.0. Regarded by some as the best, well, probably now former best, Anime Vanguards update of all time. And I don't think that's crazy to say. I really don't. I think that this update introduced so many cool units, definitely a bunch of new mechanics and systems that people were really keen about, and are still used to this date. Let's talk about the mechanics. This was actually the update that introduced tournaments. Now, me personally, I'm not really a tournaments like I don't really play tournaments that much, which is weird because I actually, I spend a fair bit of money on the game. You'd think that, what other reasons you have except for playing tournament and stuff, but I don't know. I've just never really been into it. When it's a tournament that I can see that I can quickly go in and smash it out easily, don't really have to think about it because I've got like the buffed unit or whatever. I'll probably do it, but I've never really tried extremely hard. Looked up the strats, trying to figure out like what am I going to do to optimize everything. But still, it's a game mode. It's a great game mode. I don't see any problem with it. That of the gold merchant. Somebody like me, and I'm guessing a lot of people nowadays, you have a shit ton of gold, and especially now, not really much to spend it on because I'm always on max essences. I'm always on max, buying the 3 stat chips every single day is pretty nice, but apart from that, the gold shop's kind of useless for me. But for newer players, definitely, to level up, there's no reason not to just buy out that stuff every single day. Stat transfers, oh my god, guys, the stat transfers on Anime Vanguards, when they first released, actually, funnily enough, I guess I'll go into that a bit later. But stat transfers, it was an AA, great. They put it in AV, and it worked perfectly. Apart from one thing, which was that if you had all Z plus on a unit and you evolved them, they would turn into godlies. Now, this was a bug for a very short amount of time, but people still managed to abuse it because for some reason the devs didn't shut down servers. That when they actually patched the bug, people just joined all the servers and just got godlies anyways. And this at the time, like, God, Vanguard's developers did fuck about a lot during the start of the game. I feel like there's, especially with the whole leaderboards thing, man. There was so many different videos I remember back in there. People like flying for Jay-Z, who was at one point #1 for I think it was Sand Village, and the person I ran tournament with, oh not tournament, sorry, leaderboard with, Darkest, my goat, Darkest, Judarts, and Dolt. We all played, and it was just sort of like the game just felt, it just didn't feel fair. You know what I mean? Because there were so many bugs, and people like Andravius who would literally, oh, don't even get me fucking started. This video is already going to be a fucking 3 hour long yap sesh. Anyway, the point I'm trying to get is competitive integrity was in the fucking gutter during that time, during Season 1. After Season 1, didn't even bother playing leaderboards. Game was fucking dead competitively to me. I didn't care. But stat transfers, to this day, in AA, as most of you would know, if you wanted to transfer a stat over to a unit, there's a 50% chance that the unit that's getting transferred, that the stats of the unit that's getting transferred over would fail. So, you have triple SSS on, I don't know, Hoodsy what's it, and you want to put it on Dio. There's a 50% chance that you putting that stat onto Dio deletes the unit. Sorry, it's a 100% chance to delete the unit, but it's a 50% chance to even get the stat. So as you know, that's a very, very awful system, and triple SSS stats were very, they weren't like extremely rare, but high SSS stats, oh my god, bro, the prices on those, like, people used to trade insane amounts to get like a high SSS stat. But in this game, you literally they did it right from the start. You put stats onto a unit, the unit stays. You evolve them, the stats go up. Guaranteed to go up. In AA, it wasn't even guaranteed. Fuck me, that game was dog shit. But like crazy stuff, awesome. Still to this day, amazing. I'm glad they did it. They really play it like they are centered towards the player. I will say there are obviously changes that they've made that have just been very questionable. But I think for the most part, like looking back on a track record, the developers have done things that make sense, and are good for the player rather than, damaging them or hindering progression. This update was actually the first and only time so far the level cap got increased to 60 from 50. Since then we haven't had any cap, but it's fine. I'm sure it's not like the biggest deal ever. Now Paragon. Oh yeah. Fuck. I don't even know. Guys, if you don't remember Paragon, I don't know if Paragon's even in the game anymore, I won't even lie, but it's a game mode that used to be the #1 way to farm gems. People used to be in, oh my god, disgusting Paragon level fucking, I don't know, 400 or just some really high number people, because it was easy. It was easy, it gave a lot of gems, there was no reason not to do it. and you could just macro it pretty freely. But I think during this update, it would have been this update. It 100% would have been where they actually changed Paragon and they made it disgustingly hard. And I actually have a video on my channel about this exact thing. That's it holds up pretty well. It's a pretty funny video. But it's like looking back on it now, I definitely view it in a positive light. Like the Paragon was difficult, and for any normal player playing with a group of friends that didn't have like meta monarchs or even Toji was just a fucking he was needed. The meta was basically grabbing as many shield cards as possible, and then just breaking all of them with Toji and hoping you get good RNG. To even get like there was like a quest that you had to reach wave 50 with like one of the units. It was one of the unit achievements. But yeah, Paragon, definitely a forgotten game mode now. But back in the day, that was the move. And I guess we'll move on to the units now. There's a lot of units this update. You know, granted it was their 1.0. You know, it was the heavy hitters. Probably a lot of players playing at this time for this update. Everybody, you know, everyone always remembers it positively, and I'm one of those people as well. We'll start off with Battle Pass units. Starting with Julius. Now, Julius. This unit, bro, fuck. This is a meta support, meta DPS. This was the fucking GOAT back in the day. He literally carried through so much content up until maybe like 2.0, maybe even 3.0. Maybe 3.0 was when he was truly starting to get really like pretty shit, like power crept. I mean, but he was insane unit. The other unit in the battle pass was the fire guy. What is the fire guy's name? You notice how I remember the ice guy, but not the fire guy? That's because the fire guy was fucking trash and nobody used him. Worthless unit. I'm not even gonna talk about him. Completely worthless. Toji, the first unit that sort of had like a quest to get him. You had to basically get a drop of the worm. I can't remember from which stage, and then you just had to clear a bunch of stages. You know, evolve some of the Jutsu Kaisen, you'd sacrifice them to the worm or something, I think it was, and then you'd get Toji. Pretty cool stuff. Toji was my first monarch in Anime Vanguards, and he holds a special place in my heart. He's a very cool unit. Still the only unit that actually breaks shields instantly. When he gets his Vanguard familiar, Escanor, he's coming, bro. Escanor Toji, meta layout. It's coming back, bro. I promise you. But yeah, Toji, that's the GOAT. Big ups to Toji. Then we've got Jogo. I think he was meta for a little bit, especially in stuff like very niche stuff, sort of maybe like leaderboard. Like you could make him work because he had like a domain that buffed fire damage, if I remember correctly. So he wasn't completely worthless, but not many people used him. Very cool VFX. I actually used it somewhat recently, maybe like I want to say 2 months ago, and his domain still looks pretty nice, especially when you just pop it during like a normal, just like a game. Looks really good. Choso, goated unit. Back, you know, you didn't have Alucard. This guy was your bleed. I didn't have Alucard, so I used him heaps. So he's definitely a special place in my heart also. Todo never really got a time to shine. He only actually started becoming really viable when Virgil came out, and people used him for a little bit, but then Virgil got like changed, and he just became Todo sort of became useless. So he never. That's another character that was sort of always mid, right? Itadori dropped on this update too, but he didn't have an Evo, so he was just trash, not worth it at all. And then obviously the guy that we all know, the guy that just got his Vanguard familiar in the most recent update, Secret Gojo. This unit was generational, you know, full AoE time stop, just great DPS, pretty cheap for what he was too. Amazing unit. I'm pretty sure most people like getting this guy to be the first character that got his Vanguard familiar, definitely the best choice they could have done, because I'm assuming most players will actually have this cunt Monarch. I didn't, and I spent 1,500 rerolls getting him Monarch, only to sort of be underwhelmed by his performance with the glasses on, with the familiar on. But it is what it is, man. At the end of the day, he's still a very cool unit, and I have the shiny Gojo, and I think that's one of the best shinies in the game, right up there alongside his counterpart Sukuna, which we will get into soon. But yeah, Jutsu Kaisen, I think this is our first S tier. Is that crazy to say? I don't think it's crazy to say at all. You know, some problems here and there, a little bit of bugs, if I remember correctly, but the reception to this update was mostly positive, and I don't see it. I don't see myself ranking it any lower than S tier, because it sort of paved the way for this game, and definitely put it sort of even more further into the mainstream. Great. Anime Vanguards update 1.0. Anime Vanguards update 1.1. Yes, 1.1. We really got a whole update just for a boss rush and to get Sakuna in the game. Was it upsetting? I don't think so, but I think having to wait. Oh god, how long was it? Let me have a look actually. Having to wait 3 weeks for a boss rush was kind of crazy. I won't lie. And also one thing I mentioned the fire guy from the battle pass. He actually didn't come out up until this update. I checked, and I know his name Zion is his name. But that doesn't change the fact that this character was complete dog shit. And nobody used him. So this event was just to add boss rush and to add Sakuna, the evolution for Itadori. In my opinion, the best shiny in the whole game so far. Can I think of a better one? I don't think I can. I think that is literally my favorite shiny. I don't have it. I wish I did. I know a lot of people also have Monarch Sakuna, and they really wanted the familiar for Sakuna. And I'm not against it, bro. Definitely, if they make him better than Gojo as well, that'd be great. Actually, no, that wouldn't be great because then I have to get Monarch on him too. But it is what it is. So yeah, Sakuna at the time he was meta for quite a bit, and I think I remember he got buffed too, which is kind of a shame because he did actually fall out of being meta for very fast. And even buffing him, I don't think really saved him that much, giving him the double typing and all that. I don't think it really helped his case. But I think definitely with it, Vanguard Familiar, I don't think they'll fuck him up the third time. I think he'll definitely be really good. Not to say they fucked him up on release, but I feel like he could have been better. He was a little bit underwhelming. The boss rush itself, the animation still to this day. Oh my god, the animation with Sakuna and Gojo, dude, that shit is clean. That shit looks fucking so sexy. One of probably my favorite intro animation. I think Igris's is pretty mid. I'm trying to think. When we get to the boss rush, other boss rushes, I'll definitely think of it more in depth. But so far, I think the Sakuna one definitely be my favorite. But apart from that, I don't think they really added much to this update. It was pretty small, just a bunch of new boss rush. Get some trade rolls. They reran Igris as well, the Igris boss rush, so you can get him from there. Pretty alright. I don't think it was an update that's like too crazy. I think I wouldn't call it bad. I think I'd put it like under the what is this called? Demon Slayer, under the Demon Slayer update, just because it didn't really they didn't really do too much, and for such a long wait, they really didn't add that much. And Sakuna was just a little bit underwhelming. I think that's fair. I think that's pretty fair. But yeah, moving on. Now, this update signifies the start of Anime Vanguard's flop era. I will not lie, guys. This is probably the darkest time in Anime Vanguard's history. You ask anybody that's been around for as long, since release, they'll definitely tell you this is sort of this little stretch of updates is where the game really, really, really fell off. And you might be wondering, what update are you talking about? Well, the update I'm talking about is update 1.5 dun dun dun. Now, why was this update so bad? Why did people hate this update as much as they did? I guess for me, to start off with, the mode that they added, listen, man. if you guys played AA, the winter event and the Halloween event, it was the 50 waves, you picked modifiers, it was fun at the start, but it got really fucking dragged. It got really, really dragged. And this event, I will say, it was a better version than the AA event. One, because you didn't actually have to finish the event to get the currency. You could just leave at any point and get out of there. And on, talismans were a bit of a unique mechanic. It was pretty cool, just so you can beat it a little bit easier. The modifiers, some of them were really cool. Like, for example, if you want more money, you want all your units to get Monarch. It's creative stuff. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. But I think the units in the update was sort of trash, right? Sort of trash. Let's start off with the best. Obviously, you got the first ever Vanguard rarity unit. Oh, Diavolo, awesome VFX, awesome model, awesome sound effects, awesome everything. Very cool unit. Is he insane? I think when he dropped, he was definitely pretty solid. He did get a buff, I think, a few months after release. Probably more than that, actually, right? But he wasn't out for too long. I think this is probably the rarest Vanguard. I think it's easy to say because it was during the game's early life, and I think there was no pity for the Vanguards, obviously. And the event itself was just sort of a house sort of grind. For one, I didn't get Diavolo. When trading comes out, guys, shiny Diavolo owners, hit my DMs. There will be offers for shiny Diavolo. Yes. But I think, there's definitely a chance he might come back. He might be really cool. His blessing's amazing. Awesome. The stand looks great. Nothing much to say about him. He's just cool. But as for Dandadan, like, listen, bro, for the game being so early in its life cycle, I remember this was a talking point that I actually had when this update came out. And, like, really? You've had, what, 4 updates? 3 updates? And your 4th one, capitalizing off the hype of Jujutsu Kaisen? Is Dandadan? Are we serious? Like, they just threw the fucking bag away. They threw the fucking bag away. That's all they did. And I guess let's talk about the units. So, all of these are all they were all really mid, I feel, and they really didn't do much. Psycho, the granny, you had to get her from actually finishing all 50 waves. There's a chance that the shield dropped once you finish wave 50 of the event. There's no other way to get her. I didn't get her. I think I genuinely only finished that event once, a single time, which is crazy. But I just wasn't fond of it. I just wasn't really playing that much. I didn't really care for it. And I was sort of cut about losing so much money to Alucard. So I was, there's another sort of bias right there. Puini, the little fucking demon boxer guy. All these models look great, by the way. I will say the models look nice. The shinies, especially, like Psycho Shiny is one of my favorite shinies in the game for sure. Puini actually did get shiny, but I unshinied him because it's just a shit unit. I don't care for him. Random. Okarun, I think, was probably the best out of all of them, excluding Diavolo, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong. But still, he was a character that the VFX looked mid. But it's like, what can you do with this source? Do you know what I mean? It's just such a shit thing to pick so early on. Like, we could have had so much nicer stuff. Anyway. And then Mimi, swear she had copy and paste VFX as Okarun, except they were green. Also very mid. I do wonder if these units will actually have any training value once training comes out, because, some of them have pretty alright cosmetics, especially if... I actually haven't seen if Psycho's cosmetic, she holds, like, the bat. The pose is nice. If you can actually get the bat from the model, that would be pretty mint, I won't lie. That would be pretty nice. I might actually have to invest into that when trading comes out. They added skins for the first time, obviously, with the banner coming out for the Vanguard. You got the currency you summoned on, and you get these bunch of skins. The first skins were pretty cool, if I remember correctly. They were sort of Halloween themed. The one skin that I remember the best one, which is the Haruka Rin Miku skin, which was actually very... I think the chance of it was, like, rarer than even getting the exclusive units. So I think the people who have that, you're holding onto a pretty alright gem for when trading comes in, and that might be actually worth a bit. I'll definitely have to pick up on myself, because I never got it, but I did get every single other skin. But, apart from Haruka Rin, I'm pretty sure all of them will be completely worthless. This was the first update that actually brought into the game Familiars, which was, when it first came out, it was sort of, an afterthought for units. But nowadays, it's... this is the end game. Familiars are the end game, so I guess you can thank Dandadan for introducing what we now know is the most important thing for your units. If you want to compete competitively, especially with other people who are just trying to min-max as much as they can. So there you go. Familiars, great stuff. And apart from that, there wasn't really too much. Well, apart from all the crazy stuff that I just named. But I think it was like, looking back on it, I don't think it was a horrible update. I wouldn't say it was horrible. But would I call it bad? I think I would. I think it's going in C tier. I think this is the first update I would genuinely put in C tier. But at the same time, it's like, did I really hate it as much as I didn't like... I wouldn't say I hate this update again. Like, it's so hard for me to rank these things, but because I feel like I am being a little bit too harsh. Because, for example, comparing Sakrina Boss Rush, there wasn't that much in the actual update. So there's not really much they could have gotten wrong. You know what I mean? They just added a bunch of new stuff that added a new evolution, and the unit was pretty good. But with Dandadan, it's like they sort of tried something new by just just copying AA and making the event better than AA, which all power to them. But it didn't sort of change. The event was still fucking dog shit. You know what I mean? The units obviously weren't hype. Dandadan's not hype. Diavolo is hype, but good luck getting Diavolo. 0.00 fucking whatever, which is nowadays, it's a piss take, there's pity, and especially with Eskin with the summer event, man, they fucking cooked with that. That shit is insane. Insane for new players, for old players, for anyone trying to get these units, which I mean, great. These units should be available to as many people as possible, but Diavolo just was a different, he was a different case. And if you have him, I'm jealous, and I want shiny. Once again, DMs are open. Let me trade. Hopefully they're trading next update, but we'll see. But yeah, I think just for the sake of things, I will have to give it C. It was bad, but it wasn't horrible. It wasn't horrible. The greatest update of all time, bar none, the king of anime Vanguards, forever and ever and ever. Anime Vanguards update 1.75! 1.75. Let me hear it. Steel Ball Run. Yep, Steel Ball Run. The best JoJo part, you know. One of the best mangas ever written. One of my favorite mangas, you know. Great characters, great cast, great story. Everything about this is perfect. However, the update, not so perfect. In fact, this is, you know, I'm just going to put it straight away. This is the worst update of all time in this game. And it's such a sad thing to say. It's such a sad thing to say for me. Because if you go on my channel, when this was actually confirmed as the next Anime Vanguards update, I was so excited. I don't think I've ever been excited for an update more than this. Still to this day, I don't think I've ever been more excited. Only to be, you know, let down tremendously let down. Because the units, you know, the update dropped. They didn't force banner. It was full of bugs, you know. You couldn't even evolve Gyro because you couldn't fucking attack units. Like, what? How do they fucking... It's like they didn't even test this fucking update. They just dropped it with their eyes closed just to fucking farm money from chuds like me, bro. They did not give a fuck about this update. I will say that. But, you know, some of the VFX look really nice, you know, especially... Oh, fuck, bro. Diego, I should say, his effects look really cool. You know, even the time stop, he had the voice lines, everything I loved in one unit. You know, voice lines, cool effects, whatever. Very sexy. He was the unit I actually monarched that update as well. I was originally planning to monarch Johnny and Gyro. Thank fucking Christ I didn't go for that because they are horrible. Granted, you know, Diego is also dog shit right now, but at the time he was the best out of all of them. Johnny, you know. We'll say some positive things about these units. You know, Johnny and Gyro, their abilities when they got like the golden rotation around the actual unit itself looked so sexy, bro. I loved it. I loved the look of it. You know, their visual effects, you know, the audio, it was nice. It was cool stuff. Funny Valentine, you know, his model, although his cloak was a bit darker than I feel like it should have been. It should have been a lot lighter than it was. Even his hair was a bit darker than I feel like it should have was. But his model looked nice. The actual model for D4C looked good. The shiny was nice. Shout out Roman. Shiny D4C. Shiny Funny Valentine is what it is. And obviously Steel Ball Run, you know, these units were added with a raid. This raid on release was also fucking dog shit. I remember the first... Fuck, how long? I don't even remember, man. I don't remember how long it was, but you couldn't even see the units. You couldn't even see the enemies on the fucking track. Like, oh my god, it was such a headache. Gyro couldn't attack enemies. The fucking... Jesus Christ. It hurts me even trying to fucking think about it. It actually does. Because this was meant to be... How do they do it? How do they fuck up genuinely the easiest thing? Maybe like... because there's so much pressure, like, but it's not even that. It's not like they fought it under pressure. They didn't even try. This update was terrible, and I hope that the person that was responsible for whatever this travesty was isn't working on the game again because it was awful. Evolving Funny Valentine was pretty cool. You had to actually collect like all the corpse parts from the different acts. You know, it was pretty decent. It was pretty nice. You had to go on like different stages. Like for example, like it was one of them was like Sand Village act, fucking God knows in the story. And then it dropped the, I don't know, the legs or the heart or something, and then you had to get all of them, and then you could evolve Funny Valentine. He was from the banner. Diego was a drop from the actual raid from Act 4 and 5, I believe. Or was it 5 and 6? Whatever. There was one that you could attempt, like, 5 times a day for a high chance at Diego and more currency, and then there was one where you could, you know, obtain him just normally. His shiny was alright. I wasn't really too big on it. I think the base just looks so much nicer, especially the stand. But, like, it is what it is. The models for Johnny and Gyro, just fucking kill me, please, bro. It's gone to my head. Like, tell my family I love them. Looks fucking horrible. The faces, everything about it. Like, Johnny's is alright, but, man, it's just... It makes me sad, even thinking about it. And, you know, the Act 5 raid or whatever, it had, like, the love train mechanic too, which at the time it was pretty AIDS to deal with, but once you sort of locked in, you bring like, I think you wanted to really bring water type units for whatever reason. No, it was water and, oh shit, was it nature? They were buffed in the stage. Yes! Oh my god, I just remembered something! Because, bro, listen to this, ready? So, nature and water were buffed in the stage, but You think like, okay, so nature, Gyro was nature. Johnny, yeah, he's water, he's blue. No, Johnny was blast. None of these units were water. Why? Why? What does? Why? Why did they do that? I don't know. I have no idea. It baffles me to this day. I genuinely have no fucking clue. But yeah, this update, whether it be, maybe if it was a different anime, I wouldn't hate it as much or different manga, whatever. But the fact that this is the source material they chose and they made the update, this dog shit, no force banners at all. Like, oh my fucking god, I had to. Oh, it's alright, it's fine. If you go to my channel right now, I'll put up a screenshot actually, so you don't have to do that. You can literally see like when I got confirmed, I was like, bro, we're so back, and then it's like it's because they said it was a 0.75. A 0.25 update. Has there ever been something done like this before? I don't know. But at the time, it was insane. I remember people were losing their shit, bro. Fuck, this shit is such a joke. Garbage. Garbage tier. Like I said, already put it in D tier. Oh my god, steel ball run. But yeah, you saw it's like we're back. It's over. Or we're back, and then it's just fucking it's over. It's fucking done. Very depressing. I got Monarch pretty easily on Diego. I think it was like 800 rerolls or something, so it wasn't too bad. But like, man, but yeah, it was rough. It was rough. It was a rough update. It is what it is, bro. Maybe one day we can do a remake when the anime comes out, and they can redeem themselves. Because current AV quality, if they dropped a Steel Ball Run update now, I guarantee you it would be the best fucking shit ever. But yeah, that's probably I won't say anything else. But yeah, not an awful update. If you played it, you would know it's awful. People who say that it isn't awful, they're new gens. They haven't played it. They're just LARPing. I promise you, because everybody who played this update just knows how fucking horrible this was. But yeah, let's move on. Now, signifying the sort of end of the flop era and sort of into the quiet era of anime Vanguards. I feel sort of the game didn't really have as much going on at this time. It was sort of slowed down. The player count has slowed down. People were sort of fed up with the game, especially after Steel Ball Run and how fucking horrible this is. And I dropped Fate. Now this update, me personally, I played it a little bit, but I really didn't get too much into it. Like I sort of hopped on, evolved a few units and then got off. But there wasn't really much to add. Like I didn't really do a lot, right? And so with this update, they actually added world lines. Great stuff. World lines is awesome, especially nowadays with how insane that they make those units. I don't think Subaru would have actually been added at this exact time unless it was through the portal. I'm not exactly too sure. Or maybe it was just for rerolls actually, this first sort of World Lines season. But it wasn't too bad. It wasn't horrible. I didn't do it. I didn't play it because at the time I was sort of fed up with the game, like I said. But it wasn't too bad. Apart from that, really, the units they added were pretty solid. Saber, meta for a long time, meta repulse. Really good ability, sort of just, not really a nuke, but it just increased her damage by a lot. She was definitely very solid for a long time. Lancer, another one of those units that stood the test of time with the rupture ability on upgrade 7. Basically a must run and stuff like Land of Gods when that came out, just to stop regen because it was such a struggle at that point. So shout out to Lancer, shout out to Saber. Gilgamesh, the exclusive, he was sort of the second, as I was talking with Toji in Update 1, the quest unit where you had to, sacrifice a bunch of shit and do a bunch of stages and I think for him you had to pay 50k gold to actually get it started or something. He was very good as well. He was like a better Saber minus the repulse. He was just sort of Saber but just DPS only. He had sort of the same ability that would just increase his damage for like a little bit by a lot. So he was very solid for quite a bit too. I remember using him in a lot of my macros, especially for like boss rush and stuff when that was still sort of considered, semi-difficult content. As for the other units, Ishtar, she was limited. She's to this day, I think, the only limited banner unit that's ever come out. Obviously she hasn't been back yet. She's had a really cool skin added during the Valentine's, which is the what is it called? Fuck. Space Ishtar. That's it from Fate Granddaughter. It looks really nice with the skin. Hopefully, it's worth a fair bit because it was like a 10k bundle skin or something. Hopefully, she'll be worth a fair bit when trading comes out because it's an unobtainable unit. Maybe they'll buff her or something. Archer, I think was pretty solid too. Crit unit. I think I remember Deadeye being really what you wanted to run on him, but I didn't really use too much of him. And then Medusa and the Medea, the witch. I think they were. I don't remember anybody using those two units, I won't lie. So I think that must have been quite mid. Unless you're the biggest fucking Medusa defender ever, let me know if she was actually secretly broken and I missed out. But yeah, obviously this was just a new legend stage, new story. Nothing too crazy. I think this is like the game, like I said, was sort of quieting down a little bit when it comes to the play count. But it wasn't bad. We'll put it in. We'll put it in BT. I'll put it above the boss rush just because it did introduce a bunch of units that were still relevant for quite a long time. Being Saber and Lancer. So you can't hate for it. And also the Underground Church, the Infinite. The command seals are a bit of an aids thing to farm, but if you just macro the stage, you can just get another 25 rerolls, a bunch of essence crystals, just forever. Like that doesn't ever go away. That's always there. I think they added level rewards. I want to say on this update too. Let us have a look. Yeah, level milestones, which they still probably should increase by now because I'm sure a lot of players have actually maxed that out, including myself. So a bunch of new level milestones would be nice just for some rerolls. But yeah, pretty chill update. Nothing too crazy. Update 3. Update 3 Anime Vanguards. This was a good one. This was one that I actually didn't play at the start, and because I'd quit the game. At the moment, like for quite a while actually, and I only came back a little bit later thanks to a friend called Thready, who was actually grinding it, and I thought, bro, you know what, can you help me out a little bit? He had Gogeta, he had the fucking Partery familiar on Gogeta. I remember that day, like that's like in my head when I think of Anime Vanguards, I legit think of Gogeta, and like the fact that he brought me back onto the game. And I really just wanted to, have the Partery familiar because the Partery familiar was sick. It was the 2D spinning around thing. It looked fucking awesome. It's dope. It wasn't a really good familiar, and obviously there's no reason using it now. Considering that familiars are literally they run the game. I want to say, but it was cool, and he was a great unit. The only thing I could say about Gogeta is he was in the game for way too long, and I mean like he was there. He was available for what 5 months. Ridiculous. But hey, he's still a very cool unit, and even to this day, I don't think he's amazing, but I think he still does like a little bit of. He still does all right, like DPS with Monarch. I think it's something like what I want to say 90k, 80k, which I think, listen, like comparatively, we have a lot better units now, but he's old, give him some fucking slack. He's cool. He's got the teleport maneuver. When that dropped, my fucking head exploded. That shit was so fucking cool. And obviously, he has the clone that, he attacks, and technically his DPS is doubled because he attacks twice. Very cool stuff. Very expensive unit, I will say. Obviously, to place very cheap, but to actually max very expensive. The ability was cool. You can build up. He was a support. There was a chance that instead of attacking every time he would attack, there was a chance that he wouldn't attack and he would actually like do like a little animation, like the way he does like the fucking confetti. If you guys know Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, does the confetti, and then he's like, he slows the enemies, and then he sort of stacks damage. I think he can stack up to like, I don't want to say the exact percentage, but it's pretty alright. It's just like a little bit of support here and there. That animation's actually voiced as well, which I really love. I always really like hearing that when I'm playing the game, when I'm using Gogeta, which I still use him here and again. You know what I mean? Like his model. I remember when it first came out, I really wasn't a fan of his model. I really wasn't fond of it, but it's like really grown on me now. And I think like I remember them saying that they actually wanted to change the model, and that would genuinely upset me nowadays. I think because I really, really like the Gogeta model. It's grown. It's just so iconic. You know what I mean? And it's really simple. It's clean. Almost the shiny Gogeta was terrible when it first dropped, but they made a new one. It's actually Super Saiyan 4 like Daima that has like the pink. Instead of like the red. Dude, that's shiny. Again, when trading comes out, if someone has a shiny Gogeta they want to trade me, obviously not for free, I'll send some offers your way. I'll definitely have to want that for my collection. Very insane, crazy looking unit, beautiful, just sexy as fuck. Now Subaru, the first World Lines unit, I didn't get him either. I don't know why I said either, but I didn't get him. He was the only World Line unit I actually don't have because I didn't play quite enough of when this update first dropped. This update was very buggy on release. I remember that people were losing their Ragnars constantly. Ragnar was the first secret like portal unit, sort of like Poseidon or like Sid, I guess you could say. But yeah, so Subaru, Still, I think he's meta buff. Obviously, he's unobtainable. Yeah, probably will have a bit of value when trading comes out, so I'm keen for that. We'll have to get one of those too. Ragnar. This is actually one of the first units I want to say that you actually wanted. You didn't want Monarch on him. Like a strength one Ragnar would actually out DPS a Monarch Ragnar because of how he worked. And the way he worked is you placed one down, and you buff him, and then the next time you place him, like he keeps all those buffs or something. You have to upgrade him again. Some shit like that. I haven't used the unit in a hot minute. I will say that because there's no point. He's not really all that anymore. But he's definitely very cool, and his shiny looks really nice too. He was all right. Emilia, and then okay, the other units, the other exclusive units for the banner, for the Vanguard banner, Emilia, Fubuki, and Kareem, they were all sort of like support units. Like they weren't really crazy. I think Kareem especially was pretty bad or very niche. But Emilia and Fubuki, they sort of had a little bit of the use, especially Fubuki. I think Fubuki paired up with Virgil when he was first coming out. People really liked doing that combo together, and it worked really well. So yeah, I mean they're all right. Not very nice models though. No complaints there. Rem and Ram, uh, not insane. I want to say they're all right. I want to say they were all right with like ethereal. I think they were really cheap for AoE to get down. And then for the battle pass units, this was actually the first time I believe the battle pass wasn't really done as well as they could have. I guess you could make the argument that Zion and Julius was a lot better, and Zion was complete shit. This is sort of the same thing. So sorry, as sad as it is, Sasori's a really cool Naruto character, but he was pretty trash. Nobody really used him as a battle pass character. I think he was only just there for the stat food. And Data was basically like tournament meta only, I'm pretty sure. I don't think you really wanted to use him anywhere else. But it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. Obviously this update introduced portals, replacing, we had like for Diablo, you had like the 50 wave, and they finally put portals in, and, portals are still used today. It's a very, 20 waves, pretty easy. Scale it, so like however much you want, for the max rewards if you want to do it. And then there's a chance you might get a secret portal when you finish a normal one. Bunch of new familiars got added to this one as well. All of them sort of mid. Pardaru, Doggo, and Cyberman. But they were all right. They were sort of just more of like a cosmetic thing. Turbo Granny, the first familiar that they added, was still considered the best at this time. The one that dropped with Diablo, because she could give you like crit damage or crit rate or something. So for some units especially, that was like really good. I never actually got a Turbo Granny. I never bothered. But as for like Powder and stuff, I still run Powder on my Takarada just because I fuck with the familiar. This event also added sandbox mode, which is probably one of my favorite modes. You spawn in as many enemies you want. You can give every unit monarch and give yourself infinite money, whatever units you want to just test out. Just limit break, not limit break, sorry, limit test all your units, see how good they are. Obviously you can't do it with newer units, but they've added trials now to sort of counteract that, which is great. But we'll get into that later. Apart from that, I don't think much was really added. Obviously, you still got the skins. What were the skins for Christmas actually? What was like the highest tier skin? I don't really remember. It is what it is. I'm sure they went. Oh, if I can't remember them, I'm sure they weren't too great. But apart from that, I don't think like there wasn't really much else. But it was a solid update. I think I'm willing to give it above like. It was really buggy on release, but ignoring that, I think I'll put it top of B. I'll put it top of B. Gogeta, dope unit. All the other exclusive units were pretty cool too. Some of them not so great, but the game still at this point was still sort of on the lower end of the play count. Because it popped off when it dropped, but it was just so laggy. I remember people were complaining so much about it. But yeah, B tier, top of B. I'd say it's pretty alright. I'd say it's a pretty decent update. Moving on, update 3.5, another one of those sort of really small updates where not much gets added, but it's enough. It's enough for a little bit. And what they added here was actually boss rush. This was the main focus of the update. Saber Altar. Now, the intro animation for this boss rush, as I said that before, I was mentioning I was going to talk about that. I don't think it's that bad. I think it's pretty cool. I think the units in this specific update were really nice. We'll start off with obviously Saber Altar, and how you get her was pretty unique. You'd have to like place a bunch of units at the spawn of the enemies and wait for them to get corrupted at like wave was like 10 or something, and there's a chance that one of your sabers that would get corrupted will drop you a saber altar. Very cool stuff. Dope unit. I remember one of the bundles they released was a skin for her. I actually bought that. It was probably the earliest skin I ever bought on Vanguards, and I'm a fan of it. I think it looks really nice. She was pretty solid at the time. I don't think she's great anymore, but she was like a really weird unit. This was sort of the start, I feel, of them just introducing units that you want to run like they'll drop an update and they'll drop these two units, which in this case is what they did here. They dropped Saber and then they dropped Sakura, right? And these two units, they really want to be ran together. Like you get the most out of them by running them together. Sakura is also a pretty good unit. I think she's still used in some very niche team comps where you actually have to bring like a very low SPA unit, and then the way she works is you could actually copy the very low units SPA, and you can meet like you can oh fuck, it's so confusing. Confusing to explain, at least in my head I can see it perfectly, but it's just like you average out the SPA and then you can put that SPA onto a different unit. So realistically you could have like, I don't know, say like a Diego's SPA would be 6. And doing all the spiel with Sakura, you could get him down to like a 4 SPA, which is pretty good. It's definitely a very unique thing that they've done. And also, the way it works, like it manipulates like health stocks. You can't just do it constantly. You have to do it only on one unit, which I think is very. They did well with her. She wasn't too broken, but she wasn't horrible. She wasn't bad. She wasn't even bad. I wouldn't even call her bad. I think she was good. And then they actually updated world lines in here. This was the first world lines units I got because I missed out on Subaru. This was Esdeath. She was still pretty good up until even when Virgil came out. Like Virgil revived a lot of units, didn't he? Fubuki, Esdeath. He brought them out of retirement. Basically, she's got a time stop the affection. If you place her right next to a certain unit, there's a chance that not a chance, but there's a guaranteed chance that if they're attacking the same unit, they get like more damage together. She's got a time stop. She freezes. Like she's very very good support. Her damage isn't that crazy anymore. In fact, I'm willing to say it's very bad now. But that she could get a second life very easily. And then the last unit they added was Ilya, which, not gonna lie, I didn't even realize she was added this update. I thought she was on the other Fade update. And I never even heard anybody talk about her, so I'm not gonna lie, guys. I have no idea if she's any good or not, but I'm assuming she's not that great. This was actually the update they made Boss Rush multiplayer too, which is great. No complaints about that. Anything else crazy in this update? Let's just have a look. I've got the patch notes open now. This was remember how I said Sukuna got buffed? This was when he got buffed. This update right here. Just a bunch of good cure well. But yeah, I was playing. This is probably when I came back to the game. I skipped, obviously. I was there for the release of 3.0, but I really didn't play because I just saw how buggy it was. But 3.5, was pretty chill. I think I will put it under 3.0. You know what? You know what? Yeah. I feel like this is very I don't want to change it, but this is just genuinely how I feel. I don't think it's anything that needs to be changed around here. Realistically, like I think this is fine the way it is. Do I really? Yeah, I think so. I think just the fact that Sakura and Saber also were really meant to be ran together. I think that sort of hurt. Like you could put her on a team, but she'll just be. I think she debuffed your units if anything. Saber Alta did, so it was just sort of a here and there. You know what I mean? It wasn't really that great. But yeah, I mean that's update 3.5. 4.0. Oh man. This was probably my favorite update for a very long time. A very, very long time this was my favorite update. And I think I still to this day it still is one of my favorites because this update just it felt correct. After I would say the last couple updates were probably pretty mediocre. You know what I mean? They weren't crazy, but they weren't that bad. But this update changed everything, especially for me. This was Thousand Year Blood War. Now, some of you might know already, but I'm actually not that big of a fan of Thousand Year Blood War. It's actually one of my. I don't mind Bleach, but I think the arc of Thousand Year Blood War is probably like when I read it. Don't get me fucking started. But listen, doesn't matter. The update itself was insane. The units, every single unit in this update, minus Kenpachi, looked really nice model-wise. They functioned really interesting. Like they had really good functions. I guess we'll start off. We'll get to the units later, but they added rifts for the first time, which even now there's already been 2 extra rift characters. They've got Astolfo, whatever update he was added in, and then now we just got Gigi from Dun, which is great. He seems like a very strong unit also. And obviously from this unit, Yuha Baha, guys. Don't look at Anime Vanguard's wiki TL, guys. Don't look at who's at the top, because for some reason it's still Yuha Baha. I'm telling you, Yuha Baha has literally like he's got the people who ran the wiki. He's got all of their family in like a fucking cage, and he's like, guys, you better keep me at the top of the TL, or else all your family is gonna get fucking slaughtered. And then the devs like, no, or not the devs, but the people who fucking run the wiki. They're just for some reason he's still, even though I don't think he's that crazy anymore. No, not nearly as what we have now. So lesson to be learned here: don't take the TL at face value. It is a fucking scam. The people who are running it definitely have something wrong, especially when it comes to Yuha Baha. But he's not. He's a very good unit. That being said, he's very good. Very, very specific too. He's been changed a lot. I remember, like, especially when he came out, they really didn't know what to do with him. I remember when he first came out, he was genuinely the best unit in the game. Then they sort of nerfed him, then they sort of tweaked him, and then, they did a bunch of shit. Now he's still good, but I don't think he's nowhere near. And his shiny is mint, I will say that. His shiny is so good. Fuck it. We'll talk about rifts, won't we? Obviously, new story mode, new legend stage, great stuff. And they added a new event, just a little small event for Valentine's Day. They made Gazelle, whatever her name is, the zombie girl from Bleach. They made her just one of the units that you could get. I've got her. She's pretty alright. I think she's quite usable with Yuha Baha, actually. That's probably the combo that people run these days. Bunch of new familiars from the Rift shop. Two of them I don't think were crazy. I think one of them like ignores the R, but it's not good enough for someone to actually start using. The battle pass, obviously new battle pass. We'll get into the units later. They changed cosmetics. Now this was this the highlight of the update? Like, let's be for real, guys. This genuinely opened up so much just beauty on this game, and the creativity was just so crazy. Basically, instead of the cosmetics, the way they used to work, you put on one person's cosmetic and you can only have that cosmetic on, but they made it so there's different aspects of the cosmetic. The model, the animation, the effects. Is that all of them? Or you could have all of them on at once, so you can legit just mix and match all these effects. And bro, it was so sexy. I remember the day this came out, I was already on just in the lobby, just seeing like what looks crazy with what. You know what I mean? I actually had an idea when this actually first dropped. For like a anime Vanguards like a fashion show, I was going to do with Perry and Lemonade and Scoob and just those guys. But I think it sort of just never happened, and there just wasn't enough. I think right now would actually be a decent time to do it because there's so many different cosmetics nowadays that you can actually make some insane combos. But back in the day, people just always ran the same shit. But yeah, no, it was good. It was definitely, that's probably the fucking highlight of the update for me. I won't even lie. So let's get into the units. So we'll start from the secrets, I guess. So Yuha Baha, the Rift unit, we already talked enough about him. I think he's good, but I don't think he's as good as people, specifically the tier list makers, bring him about to be. But he's still very solid. I still recommend people get him, but rolling on him current year, like now, no, I wouldn't really even do it. Especially just because if you already have other options, like he's sort of a character that you sort of have to build the team around. You know what I mean? Like it's not like back in the day when he first dropped, you run 5 rares and you have Baha, and then that's how it works. That's his peak. But no, it's definitely sort of changed a little bit now. But I just don't think he's that. I just don't think he's all that. I just don't think so. I think there's so many other better units that you'll be worth rolling for. But if you really don't have anybody else, and you don't have anybody like on, you're not eyeing down any unit that you specifically like, and you want one Monarch, and you think like, okay, because listen, full AOE, right? He's cosmic, so he cleanses himself, which is obviously something really nice, especially nowadays. His full AOE is massive, by the way. Like, he has insane range. It only gets higher depending on how many units that he's taking the buff off of. And his damage is quite good. He attacks twice. Attacks twice, full AOE, decently. I wouldn't say low SPA, but it's medium SPA. But he's good. He's a good unit. What else is there to say about him? He's strong. He's a strong option. Maybe I would actually. Like I said, I wouldn't recommend rerolling him, but maybe he's actually still pretty good. Aizen, this is a very niche unit. He was really his damage, like in actuality, Like his damage stat isn't crazy high, especially because his SPA is really slow. I think it's like 10 or 11 or something, but he's fully AoE also. But the majority of this guy's damage actually comes from his aura, which is funny to say. But he's got he just has like a little cloud of smoke in his around his character model, where if units are actually in that smoke, they just take continuous damage, and you can sort of see like where this sort of comes from. You place this guy on like a spawn, especially this guy. Listen, if you want Rift MVP and you're struggling, try get this guy. Try get this guy Monarch, and then a bunch of obviously you need to stack up a bunch of other units. But this guy will mainly get the job done because the damage output is basically it's infinite. He stands there, the units will keep spawning in, he'll keep doing damage. You just upgrade him, he's gonna do a fuck ton. He does crazy amounts of DPS just from that aura alone, and that's not even including him just attacking normally. His ability is pretty good. It's just basically just like a wall. I think it has like a 100 and something second cooldown before you can use it again. Just like an invisible wall you can place on a track, and then units can't walk through it for like 10 15 seconds. Let's say. I'm not exactly sure how much it is, but it's something like that. So 2 units pretty solid. One or the other, if you had to get Monarch, probably I think Yuha would actually probably be the case there. But Aizen, he's definitely he has uses. Yamamoto, probably my my favorite Bleach character apart from Kenpachi. When he dropped was insane. He still is pretty solid. His DPS is a little bit power crept now, but his mechanics are very good. He's got he gets full AoE pretty easily. He's a bit expensive to place, 2,500, but it's not the worst thing in the world. So full AoE burn, and he just every time the takedown happens, I don't know if it has to be his takedown or if someone else's takedown, but it's one or the other. He summons that enemy from spawn. Now, the HP scaling of that summon, listen, it's another one of those things that I'm not really 100% sure on, but it might be either his damage or the enemy's health. It's one or the other. But it's good, because he spawns in so fucking many. He spawns in so many of them. It's legit insane. And he keeps spawning them, and he's full AoE on his final upgrade too. He's got good damage. Good damage burn, summons. Good stuff. Good stuff. I'm a fan. I've also monarched him. He's one of my I think it was the first Monarch I got of this Bleach update. He's my goat. I still use him to this day, every now and again. If I get a use for him, I'll bring him out. He's good. The Battle Bus units, Lucy and Dave from Cyberpunk. Yes, Cyberpunk, yep. Dave, I think he's a cheap full AoE. His damage right now is probably in the gutter right at the moment, but he was decent when he dropped. Lucy, however, is one of those support units that are sort of a little bit timeless. We've obviously got units that self-cleanse now, and there are some units that are just like invulnerable to everything, but she's still useful, especially when the Rift. You need her for the Rift basically, because Yuha actually the boss Yuha in the Rift. Even the enemies, they had like a thing where they had DR that just basically couldn't be removed, and she was the only person that could actually remove the damage reduction from them. But yeah, there you go. Gazelle, she was like a summons unit, sort of summons from like AWTD, where you upgrade her and then she actually spawns in 2 other units beside her that were quite mid. But I think what she was mainly a support too is she actually helped with the process of like, so if you run her with Yamamoto, for example, and she would spawn more clones, or something like that. She would just spawn more summons, essentially, is what I'm trying to get at. But she was alright. She's unobtainable now too. Cool unit. I don't hate it. Nice shiny as well. Little maid outfit. Looks alright. Ichigo, fuck, this guy is nowadays not great, but he's very interesting because he's one of the only units in this game that actually has he's one of his passives is he has every single category. He can be brought to every single he gets a bonus from everything. So say there's a stage that gives, I don't know, 100% damage bonus to every unit that's in the Dragon Ball category, which again, the game actually has categories now, if you guys haven't noticed. In game, you can actually click to see what category a unit belongs to. But Ichigo basically gets any buff from any category. And he has an ability where if you remove a stock, he just gets like damage temporarily. He's alright. He's not horrible. I wouldn't really recommend anybody going for him now. Kenpachi, this was one of those units. I think this was is it so crazy to say that this guy was like the prototype for Guts? Because he had something to do with being stunned as well, if I remember correctly. But that being said, I also do remember him being nobody used him. He was mid as fuck. And his model isn't crazy, I won't lie. Kenpachi, OG Kenpachi with the bells on his hair, fuck, bro, I love that shit. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. But this red sort of, where he's going fucking crazy or whatever the fuck it is, not a fan. Not a fan. I think it's his Bunkai, actually, maybe. But yeah, I'm not a fan. Keyskate, probably the most disappointing unit of the update. He was Came out and he had wound exactly like Alucard, except his AoE wasn't full like Alucard's, and his damage was dog shit. So he was just, I think his wound percentage was legit lower than Alucard's as well. So this unit is basically like very, very, very budget Alucard. Like if you didn't have Alucard, you'd run him, but he's just worse. I didn't even bother running him because at that point, like, who even fucking cares? Orihime, she's still decent buff. She's a single unit buff though, so you place her like on top of a unit or next to a unit, and she gives them like a slight percentage buff. I mean, it's not bad. Nothing to complain about there. Uryu the goat, the legend stage, or sorry, the macro goat. You know, if you needed somebody to destroy statues back in the day, even nowadays, I think I still use him on one of my just challenge teams. He'd be your guy. He just because he's got basically infinite range as long as they're not in his range. So you'd place him in the middle of the map, and on a map like Double Dungeon where statues would spawn, and obviously you have to place units of the statues to kill them. He will just attack them regardless because his range is everywhere that isn't in his range. If that makes sense. So he was quite good. And then Yorichi, decent unit. I think if I remember correctly, she had a really low SPA. I don't know if she's stunned. Let's actually have a look. Oh, well, she has, yeah, she does stun. I was right about that. Okay, that's good. So stun, and then she just has low SPA. Very, very cool. Very cool stuff. She was pretty decent. I think nowadays she's probably a bit mid, but yeah, time goes by and better units come out. So it is what it is. But yeah, that's basically it for the Bleach updates. So obviously we had the Rift, we had the love event, and we just had a bunch of really cool units that just made the game more fun to play. And I think that's why, and obviously coming off of what we had, the complete drought of the game, I think update 4.0 really picked it back up, and from this point onwards, for the most part, the game has got a lot better, and thanks to this update, I believe, is where it is now. I will put it, hot take maybe, but I think I prefer it. I think I prefer it to 1.0, and I think I always have. Whether it be the units speak more to me, there's more units that are more usable. The maps, oh dude, the maps always in this game look fucking beautiful. But something about I remember the both of the maps, the Wandenreich and the Soul Society. Sorry, both those maps just looked insane. Very sexy, very good stuff. Anime Vanguards update 4.0, top of S, baby. Update 4.5, a very small, but you could say very meaningful update that dropped right after the massive, very hype Bleach update. In this update, only 3 units were added. One of those being a Vanguard, though, the first and currently only quest Vanguard unit. So not from a banner, but you actually had to do a specific quest to evolve your Mythic Sung Jin-woo all the way from from release into Vanguard Sung Jin-woo and Igris. So it's them two together. Which is, to this day, I think, it's not the craziest unit nowadays, but I think versatility-wise and just having him on your account, I think it's a very worthwhile unit to get. The other 2 units, Choi, basically, I'm pretty sure infinite only, so he's kind of irrelevant to me, at least. It's sort leveling, I don't really give a fuck, but he's a character I'm completely, I have him, but I haven't evolved him, and that came out, how long ago? It's been fucking months and months and months. Frieren, she was the world lines got updated also this update, and replacing, I believe, Esdeath. We got Frieren, and Frieren, in my opinion, was a very cool unit, a very pretty undertuned unit, but I think her mechanic was cool. You place her down and you basically get her on a journey from one point to another on the track, and she picks up chests. They could give money, they could give a certain damage buff for a bit, and by the time she finishes her journey, you stacks up all those buffs that she got from walking the track, and she becomes all right. I remember at one point I actually really wanted to monarch her, not because she was insane, but just because it was just a cool unit design. I just really fucked with it. But yeah, so apart from Lee Sung Jin-woo and Igris, obviously Choi existed too, but it was mid as fuck. They added dungeons, which is basically just a raid, I believe. It was more so like a raid had a baby with Dan Da Dan event. It was it was 30 waves. 30 waves for dungeons, and you pick a bunch of modifiers. The soul leveling units are buffed in this event, so you sort of want to run them. And essentially, there are these 4 main hole. Oh, I don't know. Is it 4 main holes, or maybe it's 1? one main hole where the enemies come from, the ants, they come from there. And then over time, unless you picked a certain modifier, I can't remember what it was called, I think it was Exterminator, where they actually didn't, the ant holes didn't spawn. The ants would spawn from the holes just surrounding the whole map, and you'd have to move as your character to go plug them, so the ants don't spawn. It was alright. I think the actual quest for Sung Jin Woo took a while on this, obviously. You macroed it. You actually need to obtain the red key from the raid, which I believe is, I think it was like a 10% chance to drop from each dungeon completion. Once you get it, you have to kill the Ant King, the Wave 30 boss, 50 times. Then you have to sacrifice 30 mythics or above to the key, which is pretty easy. And then the third part, which is probably the most tedious one, which is summoning 5,000 shadows with Sung Jin Woo on Evo. This will probably take the longest amount of times. And then part 4, sacrifice an evolved Igris. Once again, really easy. And then after that, you were able to actually evolve Sung Jin Woo. And he was actually the first unit that had the unknown element, I believe. Was he the first? I want to say he was the first. And he was... That element still to this day is insane because you are just immune to everything. You just don't give a fuck. You don't care about debuffs. You don't care about stuns. You don't care about anything. And having something like that on your team, especially when this guy first came out, I didn't. Oh my god, I evolved him a while after he came out. I monarched him even later, from when he came out. So I didn't really get to use this guy at his prime because I just wasn't interested. As you know, I'm not really a soul leveling kind of guy. I didn't really want to invest the time or the materials to get this guy as good as he, to buff him as much as I want as he needed to. But he's good, even now. Pretty solid, especially for a new player. This guy basically clears all content very easily. Even he's not. You don't even really need Monarch on him if you just have Deadeye. It still works perfectly fine. So there's, it's good for the new players, good for the old players, and just having the typing is just really great, especially for a certain unit that would come out in the future. But we'll get into that later. So to rank this update 4.5, listen, man. This is hard. This is hard because I don't think this was a bad update, but I did think people didn't really like playing the dungeons, and I think the fact that there was basically only one unit this update, which was Sung Jin Woo, because obviously, Freya was alright, but she wasn't great, and then Choi was just infinite only really left people to get Sung Jin Woo, but I think it's just because of the unit is so good, I will put it below Gogeta. Just because, one, the dungeon wasn't really all that. It wasn't really that. It was an alright idea. And I don't mind if they do like another one because I didn't really hate playing it. But it's just the update was a little bit. There wasn't a lot of content, and I think they you could say, oh, they balanced that out because it took so long to get Sung Jin Woo. But I just don't think it's really a good excuse because they could have dropped Sung Jin Woo and then stuff to do. And then people, by the time that they got Sung Jin Woo, and then it's, oh fuck, already there's only less than a week left until the next update, and I've still got shit to do. Like when you have a feeling like that, that's truly the best because you just know, like, some people are like, oh, I'm getting fucking, there's too much stuff to do. I'm getting overwhelmed with content, but it's like, why would you get overwhelmed when you literally just want to play the game as much as you want, and get all the cool units? I don't see it. Maybe because it was solo leveling, but this game its whole thing is solo leveling, so. You kind of hate it too much, I guess. But yeah, I think it goes in B. I don't think I would put it any higher than... Would I put it higher than Gogeta? I don't know. Like, Gogeta's a cooler Vanguard. Maybe the fact that this was the introduction to Quest Vanguards, I think that is a thing that I hope that they continue to do in the future, because obviously getting the Vanguards from the banner is one thing, but getting them from actually, questing up and spending a bit of time getting this character, buffing them out, getting Monarch on them, whatever, like it feels rewarding. It feels like you're actually progressing a lot, rather than just going into a portal, coming out and doing some spins, getting the character or not getting the character, it doesn't matter. So yeah, I think right under Gogeta, or maybe like it'd be at the same. We'll say these two are like interchangeable, I feel like they're interchangeable. I wouldn't say it was a bad update. And again, like, this is sort of the point of the game where, like, I don't really even remember if there was like many bugs on like release, because this game has gotten really good, especially with like dropping the update, and there's not really that much cancer shit happening, so you can actually play the game properly. So I think I'll put it in B. If you disagree with that, let me know. Let me know why, especially because, like I said, old man brain, I might be remembering wrong. But to my recollection, it was a pretty alright update. Pretty alright. Update 5.0. One of the updates I look back on fondly. Actually, I really enjoyed this update. I remember this was probably the first time I think the game ever hit 100k CSU, especially being after the huge flop era that it had during post done to done. So I think this is truly when the game really came back for the first time. This update, obviously Dragon Ball. How can you fuck it up? Dragon Ball is fucking awesome. Everybody loves Dragon Ball. If you don't like Dragon Ball, I don't know what's wrong with you. The units in this update were very cool, very unique, very awesome. This is looking at the patch notes now. There's actually not as many as I thought there was. Obviously, starting off. Oh, before we again, they introduced Odyssey when the game had the first version of Odyssey. I don't think it was that great. It was like sort of the limitless one. I think the rework was definitely a lot better. And this was actually the first update that introduced corruptions. Now, I am not a fan of the corruption system, but I think that it's the way they've explained the reasoning for corruption being a thing. I think it's like the reason like familiars are so AIDS, if you guys weren't aware, is because you'd have to they want to make it so when trading eventually does get added, they want to make it so like people who are free to play or just people who aren't able to spend as much money on these sort of games still have a chance of getting those rare high tier units just by farming out familiars and getting god rolls on them. And corruption is basically one of those things where you basically need to do to get a god roll on it. If you don't know, corruption, there's 4 different types of corruptions. All of them have the exact same chance to appear once you corrupt a unit. 3 of them are worthless, which is insane to say, right? 3 of them are completely fucking just dog shit. The only good one is Corruption 3, which basically it allows you to exceed caps. So say you have a Black Spirit familiar, and you can only get up to like, I don't know, say you have a 90% familiar. Obviously, you want an 100% because it's just so good. Rather than spending Phoenix shards to reroll that familiar, and the chance of getting that 100% Black Spirit is so low, you'd rather just corrupt it while it's at like 80 or 90%, and there's a chance that there's a 1 in 4 chance that you actually get the right corruption 3, the one that you want. But then there's also a chance that it might go up barely any, or it might go up a lot, which is what you want, right? Or it might, does it go down? I'm pretty sure it doesn't go down. Which is good. But yeah, so that's the Corruption 3 is literally the only thing you want. Corruption 4 is like it adds like another element. So how every familiar's got like plus 5%, I don't know, water damage. It basically adds like another plus whatever element percent damage, which is it's not good. It's if you don't get Corruption 3, so you're not getting a god roll because it's not possible. Like it's just a dog shit familiar at that point. Not dog shit, but it's just suboptimal, which is if you're trying to maximize being the best, getting the best units, whatever, that's what you want. So it just feels like sort of like a shitty system. Do you know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel satisfying at all, especially when you get Corruption 1, which is just like one of them does nothing. Isn't that crazy? One of them just, and you can uncorrupt a unit, but you can't recorrupt. You know what I mean? Like you can't, like, if you get Corruption 2 and you're like, okay, this is dog shit, let me just remove the corruption and then corrupt it again. No, you can only corrupt it once. You can only corrupt familiars once, which is so fucking like why? I know why, but it drives me fucking crazy. You know what I mean? I hate it. I hate the system, but it's in the game, and they said they're not going to change it, so there's no point even crying about it because it is what it is, and it's just going to be like that for the rest of the time. I've already accepted that, but yeah, one of them legit just does nothing, rather Corruption 1 or Corruption 2, and then the other one completely like rerolls like stats, which is just, like, I don't know, it's just not good either because you can go from like you can go from a god one to a shit one, and then you're like, okay, well, I have to remove the corruption. So you remove the corruption, and it goes back to being a good one, but you can never get a great one because you can't re-corrupt it. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit of a it's a bit of an annoying system, but it is what it is. It is something to do, and I'm kind of glad, I guess, that it's in the game. Not really. I think it's probably my least favorite thing about this game. But you can only cry so much, right? Obviously, this was the first time that they also added a bunch of new modifiers called Energy Drain, which is when your units are attacked, they lose damage, which is It's rough, bro. It's rough. When it first came out, it was definitely rough. You definitely needed like a full meta team to even try to do all this stuff. Obviously, there were some units that could cleanse themselves. One of them being Goku from the update, or Goku and Vegeta, I should say. But their method of cleansing was pretty unique. Obviously, the Legend stage, the same thing. Um, but that's basically for the content. That was, I guess, we can sort of stop there. But as for the units, we'll go into. So we'll start off with obviously Goku. You know, you get him from the banner. You evolve him into he evolves into a secret unit mission. So there's a chance. In the story mode, there's like a 5% chance every start of wave that a Patara spawns on the map somewhere. It's like a set place, constant. It's never like random, so you can actually go and just grab that. And then in the Legend stage, it's the exact same thing. There's a set chance that a Patara will spawn, and you just go and grab it. You go, so you have both the Pataras, and then what you need from then on is I'm pretty sure you can literally just evolve him after you have both those Pataras, right? Yes, yep, exactly right. That's all you need. So you just need the Pataras, you need to get him from the banner, and then you evolve him. Pretty easy stuff. He was quite good. He still is. I want to say he's a meta support. I'll give him that much. He's a meta support. His damage isn't insane. I don't think it's insane anymore, especially in Vegeta. This unit does fuse into Vegeta, if you weren't aware. But he also introduced. Oh, this unit's like, dude. He introduced so many fucking cool. He introduced so many cool stuff. The actual like charged like swap gauge that he added, where you get kills or is it takedowns, and then you after a certain amount of takedowns, you can swap between Goku and Vegeta, and every time you swap, I think Goku. If you swap from Goku to Vegeta, that the units in their range would get stunned. If you swap from Vegeta back to Goku, the units will get slowed, or one or the other. Very cool stuff. Their damage was good. They were cheap too. But the only complaint I have with this unit, I feel, is that getting Vegeta out, especially before Black Spirits were in the thing. Black Spirits are familiar. I'll get into it later. It was just really, it just didn't feel good. Like you could barely get Vegeta out on wave 15 on like a progressive just game. And even then, you wouldn't be able to max him because he starts off from upgrade 0. But it was worth getting him out. Like he did a lot of damage. He did rupture up to a certain. Did he do rupture just unconditionally? I think he did, which was pretty nice. But it's like it didn't matter because you weren't getting this guy out. Like in anything that was like 15 waves or like even 20. If it was 20 waves, you could probably get him out. Get sleep if you legit placed him down first and made sure to prioritize trying to get the swaps out. So I think you needed like 13 swaps or something to get Vegeta out, or you could use like a nuke with Goku that had like a 3-minute. No, maybe it wasn't 3 minutes. That sounds like a bit much. Like a 2-minute. What's the word? It wasn't a cooldown, but like to use it, you needed to wait 3 minutes before, like after clicking the nuke. So it had like a timer to it, which was I don't think I've ever used the nuke, to be honest. I won't lie. But Vegeta is very cool. His animations look really dope. Even to say the Goku and Vegeta are just insane units. Boo, the secret unit. The way they did it was pretty interesting. So you do a portal, or sorry, you did Legend stage or a. Wait, could you get him from story mode? I don't think you can. I think it was just Legend stage. And after the game, there's this like 5% chance that a portal will spawn at your base, and you have to go to the portal and start it up, and then beating that portal, you'd get pretty cool stuff. Boo's pretty interesting. I don't think he's very insane anymore, but when he came out, he was definitely very unique. We'll say that. Dante, very insane. Not sure if he's so insane anymore, but he was very solid on release, especially with his demon form. You know, he starts off with a really low SPA and then he goes fully he just fucks basically. He attacks a lot, so I think Deadeye at one point was probably like people really wanted you could either have Deadeye or Monarch, which is really good. I think mine's Deadeye, so and it worked fine for me. Then Virgil, when he came out, I think Dante was clearly better than Virgil. Then Virgil got changed a little bit, if I remember correctly, and then he became a lot better. And then I think sort of now they've sort of bounced it out where they're both sort of like they're both still pretty solid. I don't think they're crazy anymore though. Virgil's effects look insane though. Probably some of my favorite visual effects in the whole game. Yeah, not much to say. Meta DPS is great. They were the Battle Pass units. I forgot to say that. I don't know if I said that, but yeah, Battle Pass refresh and Dante and Virgil from Devil May Cry were the Battle Pass units, and they were really good. Hercule and Boo, just a support unit for Dragon Ball. Gogeta, I believe, was he still out at this point? Jesus Christ, I fucking hope not. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he wasn't. I think he wasn't at this point. Unless he was? I don't even know. But you wanted him to run more Dragon Ball units on the same team and he'd give you a damage buff. Ultima Gohan, another one of just sort of decent damage units. Pretty alright gimmick is when you place a unit, like whatever unit you place first that isn't a farm, Gohan would actually spawn himself on top of that unit, so you just get like a double placement. Pretty cool stuff. I think if you had Monarch on him, it'd be even better. Like it would spawn the Monarch go home. The update that introduced the trait reroll farm meta that we actually know and love today. Granted, it is an inferior version of what was, but it still set it paved the way for what we have now, for better or for worse. So this was basically the start of people just all in one macros where you could just have the game he plays the game for you basically, and every 30 minutes it would attempt a trait reroll challenge, and you would get one trait. On double weekends you get 2 traits, so it was just kind of insane if you just had that running the whole day. Back then there was no cap, so you could just infinitely farm rerolls basically. And you get like 600 rerolls a week or some pretty good stuff. You know what I mean? That's like 3 weeks to pity a unit of just just macroing, which is kind of nuts. It's kind of nuts when you think about it. That's not even including doing boss rushes, all of that. That's just doing those challenges alone. So obviously now it's different, but back then it was quite insane. And apart from that, I think that obviously the units were cool. The trait farming was dope. The maps very nice. No grab from me. I think this is an easy. A tier, top of A tier, easy peasy. Don't remember the update being very buggy either. So like I said, not really a thing for me to complain about. Funnily enough, I still don't have Boo though, which is kind of interesting, but it is what it is. Anime Vanguards, update 5.0. Pretty nice. 5.5, the Sid raid. The end all and be all for the current endgame meta. Oh my god, am I sick of farming birds? I'm sure many people are sick of farming birds also. This raid, if you're a high level player, you already know this is where it sort of fucking. This is where it all began, bro. This is the bird familiar that everybody wants, everybody farms, everybody needs, everybody wants god rolls on. Every single unit, for the most part, this is the meta familiar that you want on it. And I think apart from them creating a familiar that was just so fucking broken that to this day it's basically all you want on every single unit, I think it was a decent update. I will say, I think Sid, I'm not a fan that he starts off as like John Smith, and you can swap between obviously like the shadow guy or whatever. I'm not a fan of that. I don't like his design. I think they just wanted to implement another swap mechanic just because this is actually the raid where they introduced Black Spirits as well, which is every gauge unit. So for him to swap into Shadow, you'd have to get a few takedowns, fill up that gauge, and then at some point you can actually swap to him. Black Spirit basically made it so every takedown gets a set percent more. Every say you get a Black Spirit, it's like, okay, 20% more gauge every takedown. There we go. But obviously you can get 100% gauge every takedown, so it effectively just cut in half the amount of takedowns you'd need to get John Smith out, or or Vegeta, or even for Virgil to get his like devil form. That would cut that amount of time. Same with Dante, but I think with Dante you probably want to run Bird actually, because he already gets his pretty fast anyways. So yeah, it's pretty solid. The unit itself, he's cool. He's got. I think he's still infinite meta at the moment, but progressive. I don't think he's actually all that. World lines got reset this update also. Katakuri, very nice, very nice. He is a chase unit, so he basically follows units around the map and he slows them. He's quite cool. I'm definitely a fan of him. And then Delta, I think she was. I want to say she's either a worse or a better Uryu. I don't know. Someone who knows, let me know. But she's one or the other, right? Nothing too crazy. The actual raid itself, I will say, I don't know if people actually like this one, but I really like this raid. I have really fond memories playing this raid, I won't lie. Especially with friends. Like, I remember, obviously, the whole cuffing mechanic was a little bit annoying. You needed to play with other people for them to uncuff you, so you could actually upgrade your units. But the way it worked is you would spawn. It's a massive map, so it's like a little. The trail loops for a long time, so you're not actually meant. You don't have to kill the enemies if you didn't want to. But I think at the time it was probably preferable if you did, because the boss actually had a lot of health. But the boss spawns in just by default. This is an infinite. This could go on for as long as you want it to, for as long as it takes you. So obviously, if you beat it quickly, it's very good. But you basically kill. You kill the first phase of the boss, who doesn't actually do anything. He just stands there, and then the second boss spawns in. He has a lot more health, and he does I think he does this twice, one point at like, I want to say 75% health and the other at like 25%. Just a general estimate. He basically does, he starts counting down. So on the map, there are 4 towers on each corner. Obviously 1, 2, 3, and 4. The boss, when he's in the threshold to start attacking, he will start saying, 1, 2, 3, 4 in random order. So it could be 3, 2, 1, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1, whatever the fuck, whatever random order it is. And you basically have to memorize what the boss has said, what numbers the boss has said. And then when the boss begins to start casting his, atomic, you have to actually run. If you're doing this with 4 people, you'd have to like sort of time like, all right, I'm gonna click. Number 1's first, so it means I'm clicking 1 first. So you have to click 1, then the next person who's number 3, and then the number's 3, they have to click 3, etc. But if you do like if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and the first person clicks 1, but then the second person is the third person, and they click 3 by accident, you have to start from the start. So you really have to fucking like. It doesn't sound like it's very crazy, and it really isn't. But it's just something creative, something that was really fun to do. Especially when you're just farming with friends. You're like, guys, we're gonna lock in. Especially at Brian, we're getting hyped when it was like 4, 3, 2, 1 or 1, 2, 3, 4. I used to go fucking crazy at that. No, it's nothing, but just a little fun memory that I had when I played that raid. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun doing it. And obviously that's when birds came, and Odyssey got reworked. Odyssey became a lot better, where you can actually use units with traits now, and it's sort of more feasible for material farming. But yeah, they also added, obviously, you can reroll your familiar stats, your familiar's typing. Very good stuff. Good stuff. Apart from, obviously, bird existing, which kind of sucks. Sorry, just having a bit of water. Apart from bird existing, which kind of sucks. It was a good update. I think I will put it below. No. You know what? Just because I had so much fun with the raid, I'm putting it above Gogeta. You know what? I'm putting this update in good. No, I'm not. I'm putting it in B tier. I'm sorry. But it has to happen. Yeah. Bird sucks. Familiar rerolls is cool. The raid was fun as fuck. I hope they do something like that again. I don't know if a lot of people enjoyed it, but I love it now. I loved it. I'm sorry. I loved it. I loved it. There's no other way to say it. But let us move on. Guilty Gear 6.0. Probably the most controversial update amongst like the masses that obviously so the game's been a lot more popular. So many people have started playing when this update was out rather than like Steel Ball Run. Very controversial. A lot of people did not like this update, and I can't lie, guys. When this update came out, I genuinely did not hop onto the game until maybe 2 weeks after it dropped, and that's when I finally did like all the content and stuff. So it took me a long while to actually hop on. I didn't buy any of the bundles. Well, I didn't at the start, but when I started playing, I did, because you know me, I'm a chud. I'm always going to buy the fucking bundles. That's just how it works at this point. Guilty Gear, listen, man. I think every person ever, the devs will say, oh, we only picked Guilty Gear because they added PvP this update, which, by the way, PvP is just, I don't know what they're doing with that anymore, but it's a game mode that exists that I don't think many people play, but maybe something will bring it back into the limelight at some point. But as we speak right now, it is not really that crazy. The units themselves, the models look really nice. Obviously, no complaints from me there. I think the unit choices though were a bit like I don't know anything about Guilty Gear, so it's probably not my place to say. But I think they could have added some fucking slammers. Like I know there's like what Potemkin or something. He looks like a fucking beast, right? Let me. Guilty Gear. Oh yeah, bro. If they added this guy, imagine a model for this guy. I'll bring up a photo whenever you fucking whenever you say this guy looks like a fucking king, bro. What do you even mean? But no, we just got a bunch of fanboys and and stuff. We got a Stolfo this update, which wasn't even Guilty Gear, but hey, when I said fanboys, I was looking at him. So, but like I said, the models for like Biken and Elfelt. Even we've got a new battle pass, Margi, Alibaba, and someone Dark Mage. I don't even know who it is. Kazi looks good. Not all these models like they look good, but I feel like they could have really. Like I think Guilty Gear is one of those games where it has a lot of unique unit designs, and I feel like they sort of picked the most boring ones. If you know what I'm saying, like they could have really went crazy, especially with like the bigger units, and just sort of done that, but. It is what it is. PvP, I'm not even going to bother going into it. It's just not crazy. Rifts, new Rift unit, Astolfo. Still don't have him. I won't lie, guys. I heard he's very like specific. Like you really needed he has an ability that gives him like the supports teammates, but you have to be there to actually click like the ability manually. So I don't think it's just very worth using. Um, the battle pass itself, I mean, it's alright. Again, I actually didn't even use these units. I don't think I've even ever them. I've got them, but I never even ever them. Which is, I'm a fraud. I know I'm a fraud. I probably shouldn't even be talking about this because I don't know anything I'm talking about, guys. I'm a complete clueless idiot. But this update, I just really didn't play much. This was the introduction of the EX stage as well. That I remember a lot of people hated. You really needed a 4-man of people who had like top meta monarchs to even beat this game mode. Or beat the stage, sorry, but it wasn't even like I don't think it was even worth doing. I think you just needed to do it for like Bike and Quest and something else. Did it drop all Evo materials like the new one does? I don't think it did. So it was just a bit of a shit stage, and people really fucking hated it. But I'll try and make this one short because like I said, I barely played the update, and I just wasn't. I don't really care for any of the units. But I think if I had to put it, bro, I think I'm putting it in C tier. I think I'm putting it in C tier right above Dunderdon. And I think the reason for that is just because the fact that 6.0, oh man, like we really went from um, Dragon Ball to Eminence and Shadow, which I like Eminence and Shadow, but it's definitely a downgrade to fucking Guilty Gear. Like recipe for disaster, and PvP was just not very like I don't know. I don't really like the mode. I played it a few times, but maybe there's some PvP grinders. But like who I don't know anybody that plays the game mode. I genuinely don't. Even the people that I know that are like huge whales and they have like fucked accounts with monarchs and everything. I know like maybe one guy who plays PvP, who did play PvP, who doesn't even play it anymore. But it's all right. It's bad. It's bad, but it's not like horrible. And the only reason I think that drops it down to C is just because it's Guilty Gear. Um, and the units themselves, like I think Elfet was insane, but then they actually nerfed her. Biken, I believe, is still pretty good for like a support. She like has like a feature where she pulls all enemies into like one certain point in the map or something. So that's quite good, especially if you pair that with like Eisen. But as for like, I'm not even trolling. I don't even know what Gear Boy, Not Good Guy, or Brisket do. I don't think I've ever used these units or seen anybody use these guys in game. I swear to God, I don't know. I genuinely have no idea. Maybe they're insane, but like the fact that nobody talks about them, I kind of doubt it. So I think like this in 6.0, it's kind of sad because I think they did do well. Like the models, if you don't know like Guilty Gear, the way that it's like made the actual game, the units sort of move like I don't know what the effect is, but they sort of move like really pixelated. I don't know, and they've replicated that into the game, and I think visually and aesthetically the units look really nice. Like especially Biken and Elfet. Like Elfet's shiny. Oh man, I farmed that. I have 1,000 clears on Legend Stage Act One for Guilty because I wanted the shiny after months after the update had come out, but I just wanted the shiny because it looks really nice. But then they nerfed her and then they made her sort of mid, and I think she's right now where she is she's mid. So I think the only unit that's actually survived off that update is probably Biken, which just shows supports other goats. But yeah, unfortunately, I can't see it being above anything but C. It's a shame, but it is what it is, man. Kaguya. Update 6.5 of Anime Vanguards, I believe, was my luckiest update ever. Probably. Oh, yeah. I want to say it was. I got Kaguya in the first like 100k spring portals. I got Monarch on 20 rerolls. Like I was basically done with the update on the first day, which is kind of a shame because this was a pretty good update, I believe. The units that were chosen for this was just your average, Vanguard banner sort of update. They brought Kaguya in, awesome. Rimuru was the basically just like he was the Ragnar of current day, but like Ragnar was better in his prime. Do you know what I mean? Like I feel like nobody really used Rimuru and his ability, like the whole the stat check ability, that was just a fucking joke. That's some fucking clown shit. Rudius was insane until they made it so Black Spirit didn't work on him, so now he's just sort of really mid. Arcwid, another unit that was really insane because of her like the summon mechanic, but it was like a bug, and they fixed her, and then she sort of also like these units wouldn't even been like top meta if they were if they had that. Like I wish they never even changed the two of them because I feel like they were good, but they weren't like insanely good. You know what I mean? Like they were meta, but they weren't like the top 3 units in the game. And they were definitely like they had like a niche sort of role that you could use, and it was just cool having Rudius is a dope character, and Arcuid is a dope character too, and having them being good in a game like this is just it's cool. You know what I mean? Why wouldn't you want them to be good? But unfortunately, the devs had other plans, and they just made them a bit just forgettable at this point. I would say Merlin. PvP unit, genuinely, I don't think I've ever seen anybody use it, and especially now that PvP, nobody really even plays it. So unfortunately, she got the short end of the stick there. And then Hibana from Fire Force. Don't remember what captain she's from, or like what captain her division is, but she's all right, and I think she's actually decent with the summer units, considering they're all like burn. So you can actually run like a pretty decent team comp. Worldlines, once again, another update. They added Invincible from Invincible. It's him versus a guy called Conquest. I actually haven't seen Invincible, so I'm not really 100% sure what's going on there. But it's a very cool unit, and I definitely want to see more units like that in the future, where it's like a versus unit. It's a very dope, very fucking cool stuff. Bunch of new familiars that weren't really all that great. You know, they brought back portals like they did from their Christmas, which is great. Still no pity at the moment, so obviously Kaguya was still kind of AIDS to get for people who weren't lucky. The skins were all right. I wouldn't really say they were anything insane. They added the selection banner, which is nice. Every 24 hours, you can actually pick one unit to feature in the middle, and you can just summon to your heart's content, which is really good. Apparently, this was the update that they added unit drop pities, which is pretty cool. You can actually get a guaranteed drop of Igris after like 100 and something clears, if you wanted to, for whatever reason. You can get a Sakura guaranteed after 75 clears, so it's just for raids, boss events, legend stages, etc. Cool stuff. Yeah, just nice QOL. Nothing really to complain about there. But yeah, pretty solid update. Just your average Vanguard banner. I'd say I'd put it above I'll put it like here. I think it was a good update, but I don't think it introduced enough stuff. And just nerfing Arcuid and Radius, I wouldn't say nerfing, they fixed them, but like it just sort of soured me on this sort of update in general. Even though I do believe Kaguya, who still is, I think she's probably the best, not statistically the best unit in the game, but I think she's the most worth unit that you can get. And Monarch is like a player who doesn't have that many options, because she's just so versatile, especially considering, you know what, I just remembered something that I wanted to mention a while ago. When I was talking about Vanguard Sung Jinwoo and him being unknown, Sid is the best partner for Kaguya because he's both unknown and blast. And what Kaguya, she has domains, and she has a fire domain, a sand domain, and a ice domain. And every time that she uses this domain, she basically steals your whole team's elements, which is just insane, right? So you can literally have an unknown unit, and she would get the buffs of unknown, or basically she can't get debuffed, she can't take whatever damage, nothing. She's just completely invulnerable to everything, which is just so good. And Sid not only gives her the unknown element from his Evo form, but he also gives her the blast element, which gives her more damage when she uses the sand domain, which is already the most damaging domain. So it's just like you sort of have to run them two together if you really want to maximize Kaguya the most, because it's insane. So I think sort of Kaguya releasing, like, people would still run Vanguard Sung Jinwoo, but at this point I feel like he was sort of already like why would I run him when Sid exists and I have Kaguya? Kaguya is just a better character, and I can just put Sid on, and Kaguya can just be completely insane because she has chase, she has a nuke, she has the domains, she's got good damage, like decently low SPA, like what, like all right SPA, like 5 or 6 or something at full AoE. Oh, sorry, at max upgrade. She's a little bit expensive, but it's like when you're focusing her, she's a unit that is a carry. You focus her, and you get the most out of it when she's the juicer of the team. So I think they've done a really good job with her. She's probably my favorite designed unit. Minus one, minus two. She's probably my third favorite design unit, I guess I should say. Her shiny's a bit shit though, I won't lie, but her base is really nice, so it is what it is. It's a very cool unit, very interesting pick, and I'm glad I didn't like the pick originally, but as soon as I actually got to use her in game, I was really fond of it, and I'm glad that they popped off with her. So yeah, I think spring, pretty easy A tier. Now, a bit of a pothole in the road for Vanguards. Anime Vanguards update 7. Attack on Titan. Now, Attack on Titan, pretty cool anime, pretty dope. Units in this update. This was a necessary evil for what the game's turned into now, I will say. The units were very underwhelming. The models, for the most part, looked really bad. I did not like. I will say, Aaron's model looked nice. Aaron's shiny model, especially, like I farmed for that one. It looks really good. I like it. It's him when he's like, he's underground talking with Reyna before he fucking pops off and all that shit. It's very nice. Armin, it's an alright model. Kenny, it looks alright. It looks okay too. Kenny, or I should say Kenny, Levi, and Mikasa, they look alright. Reyna, just give him a fucking new haircut, and it's a good model. And then Zeke, get him change the color of his fucking bodysuit, and it's a nice model too. But as of right now, he's just literally his body's a different color compared to his head, and it just looks weird, and I'm not a fan of it. Ymir, a decent model as well. I'm nothing to hate there, but for me, funnily enough, I was there to the boss rush for this as well, the AOT boss rush. Probably the most annoying boss rush to do, I feel like, because it takes a long time unless you're running a specific team or just running like AOT units, which gets it quicker. The EX stage that they added for this one was pretty easy as well. Well, easy if you had the right units. I think if you didn't have crazy units, I think it was a little bit difficult. But I think they made Aaron, like 10% drop chance from the EX stage, which is pretty nice. Definitely a better EX stage than the Guilty Gear one. Then they added a new battle pass as well, which this is my favorite battle pass of all time. Toho. I'm not even that much of like a Toho head. I'm not even gonna lie, but Reimu is my second favorite unit in the game. And I'm keeping it. This is very far into the video, so if whoever sees this, like, I'm putting you on. This is a unit that if you haven't used yet and you have her, I'm begging you to try this unit because she is insane. Deadeye, Monarch, whatever. She's completely nuts. This unit is like, if you ever played ASTD, in ASTD, my favorite units was like, I remember, bro, one of my like core memories was doing like tower mode with Super 17. And if you guys remember, if you guys ever played ASTD, this fucking fuck ass AOT map, like the docks with the Titan spawn, and had so many lanes. I swear you literally needed Super 17 to beat that stage. And what Super 17 was, he was a really low SPA unit, but he was single target. And Reimu is sort of the same, but better. She's essentially single target, but very low SPA, very, very low. But she gets better and better if she keeps attacking the like units. I love her so much. I'm genuinely in love with this unit. I think I would offer my firstborn if I could just have a whiff. You know what I mean? Just have a whiff of Reimu. So we can do that at some point. Hopefully she can reach out if she sees this video. We can do something and set something up. But yeah, Reimu, completely the fucking GOAT. Nothing else to be said. Sakya, still pretty good time stop. This was a very rough time for me. I'm 1200 in deep on her for pity, but I'm probably not going to hit Monarch pity on her because I spent so many rerolls on Gojo thinking Gojo would be better, but it looks like Sakya is unironically better than Gojo with the familiar, which kind of sucks for me because that means I wasted legit 2,700 rerolls, but it's the life of a charter, bro. It is what it is. Maybe one day I'll come back and I'll end up monarching her as well, just to have her, just because I am so close. But yeah, I mean, this update was very underwhelming. The units themselves were really trash. Unless you ran them together, like you really need to build a whole team around around Eren to make Eren decent. And I just don't think for the effort expended to make him good, he just wasn't all that good. You know what I mean? Like these units definitely should have been better, and it's kind of a shame that they wasted such a cool source material on the units that just ended up being shit. I think the only decent one that's like usable, I think Zeke's pretty good, and Kenny. Kenny and Zeke are probably the only good ones. Everyone else is very underwhelming and not great. It is what it is, man. Sometimes you win some, you lose some, but, you know, the units being bad at this update really, forced the developers to actually lock the fuck in, and as we can see from the next couple updates, they did lock in. So I think for AOT, Reimu existing, I think I'm going to have to put it in high C, low key. But the fact that if Reimu wasn't in this update, it'd probably be below Guilty Gear for me, just because the units just were so underwhelming and you had to make a full team around them to make them decent. Like, there's no point. It's such a waste of effort. Why would I do that when I can just run Kaguya? When I can build a team around Kaguya and then make her that much more insane than building a team around Eren and then making him, like, good. You know what I mean? It's just silly. And I'm glad that they locked in, as we'll see, starting from now. And now I believe Vanguards is now entering the hype era. Now this is another phase for the game, I believe, where I think stuff is going to improve majorly because just from the last two updates, like it's been insane. Let's start with update 7.5 Summer Vanguard. They introduced Vanguard Pity at 3 million currency. Even for Kaguya, because Kaguya is still out, you can still get Kaguya right now. Great, awesome. I got Escanor of Pity myself. Which kind of sucked, but I got him shiny, so I can't exactly complain too much. The unit picks themselves, we'll go into that, but they also added another way. They not only added portals, which is a mechanic that's a farm that's been in the game for how many times now? 3, 3 times. But they also added another event, which is just probably my favorite thing about this update, called the summer event, where the units, you basically play it, and you're given to start off with one unit, one of the new units from the update, one of the new exclusive units, or you can get Escanor as well, but I've actually never got an Escanor from it, but I'm pretty sure you can. And you place them, and every 10 waves you get 3,000 currency, which if you weren't aware, a portal was 20,000. Sorry, oh my god, a portal is 20 waves. It takes about, we'll say, 7 minutes to do. And if you're doing it with 3 people and you get MVP and you have max boost, that's when you get 3k. Or you can play 10 minutes of the summer event, you know, very easily macro. I basically tiny tasked for like 4 days straight to get Escanor. And then you just get 3k every 10 minutes, restart, do the same thing all over. But the game mode itself, if you were to play it properly, is very fun. It's just going to go as high as you can go, just seeing if you can do it. You basically draw cards, sort of similar to how the Dun Dun thing was, except instead of just drawing once at the start, you draw every, I believe it's every 3 waves. You start off with an unevolved unit. One of the cards could be like a unit evolve, or you could draw another unit, so you could get another unit in your hand. The boss basically had like this thing where it's like, depending on the certain time of day, he had like damage reduction. So if you didn't pick, one of the modifiers was like reset it back to like 12 o'clock nighttime, so it would reduce all the DR from the boss to 0, but it would also make all units weaker, so it sort of balanced it out. But at some point, if you're at the full buff, the boss would have 100% DR and you wouldn't be able to kill him and you just lose. But it was a cool game mode, very good game mode. I hope they keep doing it for stuff like this where you just need to constantly grind materials, and I think it eased the process of trying to get a Vanguard, with obviously now that they have a pity as well. Like it's so fucking beautiful. And this was the first update that actually included events too, which, as I said in my last video, it's just such a good mechanic that they've thought about, where it's like every couple of days there'd be something like, I don't know, a shiny chance, or you log in, you clear 25 stages and you get 20 rerolls just by doing that, and you can do that every single day for like a week straight, and that's you think about it, 20 rerolls times a week, that's already 140 rerolls just by logging in and playing. They've just made it so much easier to get rerolls, and obviously I think, I can't remember which update it was, but they've lowered the pity of Monarch to 1500, and they've actually they show in game now how close you are to pity, so you can legit just keep track of all that stuff with ease. Just a bunch of insane quality of life improvements that I think the game really needed, and obviously they've thought about it and they've implemented, and it's worked. People are playing, people are loving it. That's why the game didn't drop below 80k CCU during the whole summer event, and now it's not even dropping below 90k now that we've got Berserk out. But yeah, dude, very cool update. Obviously with every Vanguard banner they drop 200 rerolls that you can just buy from the shop from the event. Even more rerolls for you to get. The units themselves, Escanor, amazing unit, very cool. You can burn your whole team to just have him on your team, and he upgrades himself. He basically plays the game for you. He is weak against shields, but I think it's for the trade off of what he does and how much damage he does and how strong he is. I don't think it's that bad of a trade off at all. The secret this time around was actually a different obtainment. Now it's the same obtainment, as you finish a portal and there you can get Meridiana. But during the event, you'd actually have to clear 25 of the portals, and then you have to clear the summer event or get like wave 20 like 10 times or something, and then you have to evolve 2 of the summer units, and then you get Meridiana. Meridiana I think is alright as well. I don't think she's crazy. Weather Report, insane support. The bubbled effect, where I feel like he's just a better Alucard at this point. No, he stuns, and the bubbled. Wait, let me tell you what bubble does. Is the next attack hitting every time a unit is bubbled? Every time this unit gets hit, it's just 30% more damage. So it's just like, I don't know if you can stack it with wound from Alucard, but if you can, that's some insane shit. I don't think you can, but and he obviously he does slow as well, I believe. Let's just have a look real quick. Does he do slow? Yeah, they turn into a snail, slowing them 50% for 30 seconds, and then they also get bubbled on them, which is just insane. Crazy unit. Alibaba, I think, is just a decent burn. I don't think it's anything too crazy, if I believe. Quetzalcoatl, and Hiei, so the last 3 units, they're all sort of just like, burn DPSs that they're meta. They do a lot of damage. They're good units. They're worth using, which is great, because the problem with the spring is, the units were good and they had niche uses like Arcuate and Rudius, and then they went ahead and changed them up and fixed them, and then they just sort of became shit and not worth using. But yeah, just the fact that they added pity on this update. You know, the events, oh my god, I can't even, the events is genuinely the best thing they've ever added to this game, straight up. It just keeps you, you know, people will say, oh, it's FOMO, you can't, you have to keep logging in to do it, but it's just like, why wouldn't you? World Lines also got reset this update, which they added Jinmori. Now, Jinmori is a very controversial unit in my opinion. I think that they actually overtuned him a little bit, especially for being a World Lines unit, because all you have to do is play for what, 5 hours? Play for 5 hours to get this insane unit that's probably one of the best in the whole game, with Monarch. Um, I don't think they should nerf him because I think he's already in the game. I think it is what it is. Like, they should just keep it as is. But um, I just think he's way too overtuned for what he is. Like, I think he's genuinely, people like argue him as better than like Kaguya or like Escanor, which is so insane because this is a World Lines unit. Like, Invincible was really good, like a really good DPS, but were people really saying, listen, dude, Invincible's so cracked, he's like almost as good as Kaguya, or better than Kaguya? Nobody was saying that. But with this, people saying, yeah, Jinmori is even better than Escanor this update, or last update, and you should probably go for Jinmori instead. Which, I mean, like, listen, I guess it's fine, but I don't really think it's the greatest thing ever. That's probably my only gripe about the update, which is Jinmori being so powerful. And now, I guess I'll talk about the bundles because this is the first update where the bundles actually started becoming crazy. You can legit get, you know, if you're a free to play player, it doesn't really affect you, but you can get like 1,100 rerolls just from buying the bundles, which is like enough to pity a whole unit. You will hit pity with all the free rerolls that they give out as well. Which is, I mean, like, getting a Vanguard an update, a Monarch an update is pretty nice. Like, I've gone basically 2 Monarchs every update for the past couple of updates, which is, it's felt really good, I will say. And I'm hoping that they keep it up. You know, people will complain, oh, mom and your mom should be on all the money. It's too much money. I don't give a fuck, bro. I'm getting all the Monarchs I want. I'm sure many people are too. But yeah, dude. Summer event, fucking peak. Just, you know, top of S right here. But now, moving on one more time. The final one, the current update, you know, this is up to Vanguard's 8.0. Maybe the next update will be worse, maybe it'll be better. I don't know. This is the best update in my opinion. I already said this in my last video, my review, but I think this is genuinely the best update that they've done. And it's taken, you know, summer, and all the good things about summer have just been implemented into this update. And the units themselves are just so fucking dope, bro. Let's start off. You know, they had a new Rift unit. GG, we already mentioned them. Rifts are always cool. Anything else? Anything else? Just looking for, like, you know, Legend Stage story mode. But yeah, we'll say the events just great. The trials, you know, you can test out every single unit. You get, you know, like 500k money. You get like the unit itself. You can just spawn them in, max them out, see what they do, see all the effects. Like, it's just like a showcase unit in game that you can just use. And I'm so glad that I think they actually said that they're going to keep doing this with future updates, because it's definitely something that's needed. It's great. It's great because nobody. Why would I want to go on YouTube and look up, oh, this unit showcase? Although they're not Monarch, which is like, if you want to showcase the Monarch, like, it's fine. You can just go into Sandbox once you actually do get the unit, and then just do the Monarch modifier on it, and then you can try it out. But it's like, I don't see this as a negative. It's great. It's a great addition. The events this time around, pretty much, I think they were about the same as the other ones, but still really good. Obviously, we've got Gojo's Familiar, that sort of puts him back into meta. He's not as good as I was hoping, but I don't think he's a bad unit. I think he's very solid, very good. Just not like insane tier. As for the actual units that they added in this update, man, Guts is my favorite unit. Guts is my favorite unit in the game. I love him. I love that he's not just, when they first added him, well, when they first said they were going to do Berserk, in my head I was like, oh, it's just going to be, you know, full AoE bleed, same as AA, copy and paste, whatever. Every game does the same shit. No, they really went above and beyond into making this character as unique as possible, and I'm very impressed. I'm so impressed with what they've done for him. Like, I never in a million years would have thought like this would be like this character that would have like an ability where he builds up injury stacks and attacks infinitely, and then he gets injured and he gets stunned, but it's like, he gets worse when he's stunned, but he still keeps all that damage from all those injury stacks. But he still does like 50% of his attack because it's just like a passive thing that he sends out. Like, it's, oh, bro, I love him. I love him so much. He's my favorite unit. His model, the Artorias skin especially, amplifies the fact that he's my favorite. It's so sexy. His model, his base model as well, sexy as fuck. Griffith, very cool unit, very insane buff. I'm glad that he's also not like a carbon copy of something like AA, where he's actually, you sort of progress him through a different stage rather than choosing, you know, if you want to go to Femto, if you want to go to Reincarnation, you just go through one to the other. And just, it makes the unit better. Like, it's great. His model especially, dude. I've got him shiny. He's shiny. He's so sexy. I love Reincarnation Griffith. My only gripe with him is My only gripe with him is fucking nothing. I don't know. I couldn't even fucking think of one. New battle pass. The battle pass units this time from Goblin Slayer. Goblin Slayer is sort of like an Usopp from AA, except I believe his traps don't actually explode, so they're single target, which is kind of underwhelming. I wish they did explode because then it would sort of remind me more of Usopp. But any unit like Usopp was the fucking goat in AA. Like if you guys didn't play that, it was the exact same sort of design. You place him way back where, and he'd set up the fucking traps, and then when somebody walks over him, it's insane, Giga Boss Killer, super satisfying. He's sort of the same thing. Priestess. She's just sort of like a DPS. No, sorry, she's like just a support with a bunch of cleanse and stuff. Skull Knight, also sort he's a support, but also a really good DPS. Like he's got flayway. He's nuts character. You can make him teleport from different areas of the map just by stunning, which is so sick. Like you can just move him around. I think with just the guts stun, I believe. Oh no, maybe not the guts stun because he can't cleanse that. But the Smith probably the second best unit of the update, the second coolest unit of the update. Insane buff, crafts all the weapons, very unique stuff. I love it, love it. Like the creativity on this update specifically is just off the charts for me. I think they've outdone themselves truly. The Witch, another sort of unit that makes guts crazy. I think she actually removes the one sort of bad quote unquote thing about Guts, which is he does less damage when he's in the stun, but I think she can just remove that and he can do the full damage, which is so fucking crazy. Like it's nuts. But apart from that, bro, I mean, like, what else is there to say? Lots of cure well. They keep every single update. There's more cure well, which is just what you need. The bundles, especially beautiful stuff. Like, give me all those give me all those tray rolls. I can't think of a bad thing to say about this update. I genuinely can't. As much as I try, I just can't. So I think that this is my ranking. God, I don't even know how long this video is going to be. This video is probably going to be like an hour. Probably more. Fuck. If you guys have watched all the way through, if you guys have somehow managed to listen to me for an hour plus straight talking about fucking anime Vanguards, congrats. You're a fucking goat. I hope you enjoyed it. But yeah, I mean, let me just have a look through if I would really change anything. I think for the most part, this seems pretty accurate to me. Like I don't really, man, would I really put a Kaza over like? Okay, we'll change that. We'll change that. We'll change that. Yeah. Yeah. I need to put some more love to Fate. Because it was an alright update. Yeah. Okay. I think I'm happy with this. I think I'm happy with this end result. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comments. If you guys want me to rank anything else or something, I don't even know. I'm kind of in the mood to upload some videos, so we'll see what the next upload will be. Hopefully it'll be something good, something interesting. Hopefully not as long as well, because it has taken me a while to record, let alone, oh my god, rendering and uploading is going to take me even longer. God help me, please. It is what it is. It is what it is. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good one.